The opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the opinions of the people on this program. It's time for the Three People Like This interview series. This week's guest is Afrim Gjonbalaj.
Bruno's gonna.
He's gonna lose his mind. Hi,
He
Bruno.
might. Nothing seems right.
I apologize ahead of time.
Well, the wave files, everything I'm looking at.
We haven't even met yet, and I'm molesting your mics.
Yeah, no, it's not you. It's definitely me because all of the levels seem very low to me. But I think that's because he's a failure of a human being.
Oh man,
and
it's rough,
and a disgrace to his family's name, and the type of person that you wouldn't even want to live in your county, not even on your block. His name is Bruno Derlin. He's we suspect that he's a child molester. We haven't found the proof yet.
Wow, that's rough.
But there's a lot of questionable searches on his Google.
His incognito searches?
Yeah, his incognito. He thinks they're incognito, but he has it backwards.
Oh, yeah.
So all the stuff that he wants to hide
is on regular search?
Yeah, like ESPN. Like you go into his incognito and it's ESPN, Yahoo, how to be a better person.
Amazon.
Yeah, stuff like that. How to achieve more, how to be successful, 7 books to read.
Honey, what's this on your search engine?
Right. And then the ones that aren't hidden are like, it's I hesitate to say because it's going to sound like I'm the one who's a proponent for it, but just
you could say the ones that you saw on the search engine, not that you know of anything of them.
7 and under playing.
Oh no.
7 under gals playing soccer.
Oh God.
Stuff like that.
Bearwithme.com.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Oh, hold on, brother.
Otter with me. Wait a minute.
Bearwithme.com. Is that B-A-R-E? Can I just spell that real quick? Is that B-A-R-E withme.com?
Yes.
Is that? We should look that up. Is that an actual site?
I don't know.
That has to be a site. I'm going to Google that right now and see if that's a site.
.XXX.
Bear with me. Bear. Hold on. I should really go in. I just have a feeling that as soon as I type this in, FBI agents are going to come flying through the windows.
Your phone explodes in your hand.
Let me see. Safari. Private. Not that I've used that before.
I didn't even know.
Oh,
Damn.
You know what's crazy about this, Afrim? I should introduce you, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us who you are? Because
all right, so
this is the part where I make fun of Bruno for introducing the guest, like being a professional.
Nice.
Like, my name is Bruno. You have to introduce the guest. All right, he's not here, so I had to do that. All right, go ahead.
All right, so hello, everybody. My name is Afrim Gjonbalaj, actor, martial artist. It's so weird when you say artist, like, oh, I'm an artist. But anyway, I train in martial arts. I'm a professional actor.
You are a second degree
black belt in Shotokan Karate, purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
You're a legend.
Just all around happy guy. Yeah, I don't know. Just that's my name. It's Afrim Gjonbalaj, but if you're feeling extra Albanian, Afrim Gjonbalaj.
Afrim.
Yeah.
I like to say Afrim.
Afrim. It's like if I was on a Spanish soap opera. Afrim. ¿Cómo estás, Afrim?
Afrim, ¿qué te pasando con tus pantalones?
34.
And then there's always a woman from the other room going, Afrim, no, Afrim, no, Afrim, no.
¿Por qué, María? ¿Por qué?
Ay, Ronaldo. They have the hottest women.
Oh, they do.
Very sexy.
And super eyebrow acting.
So but there's no outcry from the Latin American public that they're objectifying women. Why is that?
Oh no, because the women are doing all the screaming and like.
Think about that. If you had a show in America with English language, with women acting and dressing and conducting themselves like that, there'd be an outcry. Like that's objectification of women. Think about those shows. They're just.
They don't really exist.
They don't exist in America. Right?
Are you assuming the gender of these actors?
See what I mean? Yes, I am assuming. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad, son.
We got to start this. We got to start this over, guys. I'm sorry.
No,
if we've offended anyone.
I've offended someone.
Yeah. Well,
stop.
It's okay.
But drinking a little ice cold coffee, ladies and gentlemen. But Afrim. So Afrim is a very good friend of mine because we train in martial arts together, Shotokan Karate. You started way before I did, but picked it up when we met at the dojo years later. But you were like one of the original disciples of Shihan Jin Dun, right? Didn't you start relatively early in life?
I started actually when I was 15. I'm 34 right now. I started when I was 15 at a different school, and then that school closed down. So for some years I was away. I went to Buffalo State College. I finished school there, and when I came back, I was looking for another dojo to train in. And initially I was looking for a place where I could train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then my cousin told me about this place in Brooklyn. He's like, oh yeah, they teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is in 2004.
Right.
There was like no schools really in Brooklyn of any kind doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I walk in, meet Gene Dunn, who's teaching there, but it also ends up being a school where Shotokan Karate is being taught. So I was like, oh wow, this is perfect. I can continue my training and also, practice in another form of martial art that I wanted to learn. So, I mean, long story short, the rest is history. I started training there, and then I went, I traveled around. I was up in Buffalo and finishing school there, working, lived in California for a bit, acting, traveling, doing all that. And now, since 2012, been back in Brooklyn steadily and kind of bi-coastal in between California and here. But born and raised Brooklyn.
We'll get to that. But Bruno's going to have to edit that cough out. He doesn't have to. He just will,
Keep it crisp.
I want to take me back to that moment when you walked into the school, because I know Gene for a very long time. And, I met him through a friend of mine, Bobby. Now, Gene Dunn, Google Gene Dunn immediately if you're listening to this. To me, one of the greatest people you'll ever want to meet. Just honest and a true martial artist to the soul. To his core, he's a martial artist
and an evolving martial artist.
Yeah, he's a very thoughtful, existential type of guy. You can joke with him and laugh with him, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. But when it comes to martial arts, it's something that's, deeply rooted in him. And anybody who trains with him, it's funny. I am known for never being able to take anything serious, But when I'm on the mat and I'm in his presence and I'm in the presence of guys like you too, guys that have been in martial arts for a while, and we have this certain understanding of like you're on a journey, right? You're taking this journey, and it's deeper than being able to hurt somebody. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite of that, which is interesting because when I think about you for the first time that you met him, when I was hanging out with him, he was training with Henzo and the Gracie family, and it was back when, UFC, mixed martial arts, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wasn't even a blip on the radar for most people. So a friend of mine had told me, like, I'm training with this guy, and I had known Gene, but when my friend Bobby told me he was training with him, I said, oh, it's Gene. I know Gene. So he was such a legend already in the eyes of guys that had trained martial arts back then because he was training with the Gracie family. So he would take, an hour and a half car rides out to Long Island to train with Henzo, who would rent a gym in Long Island somewhere to study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And at first I thought it was just odd. My friends would tell me, look, you could be 5'2" and you can take down a 6'5" wrestler and beat him in 20 seconds if you know how to do it. So that was the big thing, like how to hurt somebody, how to submit. It
was a huge paradigm shift back then because it was such a different, people had seen the example of it, but then also I think what happened was people started to physically experience that. Like I was introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through a friend of mine named Mike Sadie, who currently lives in Albany. He was like a high school wrestler that had learned some jiu-jitsu, and when we'd first met, I was like, hey man, would you like to spar? And that wasn't in any context, because I used to say stuff like that in my late teens, and it was never an ego thing. I was just like, oh, what can I learn from this experience? And he kind of gave me this look like, all right. So we set up some mats in the gym. And I think I had my freaking gi on or something like that. And I wore these, foot gear, hand gear, and we're sparring. And he like double legs me. I'm hoisted in the air, boom, right onto the mats. And I was just like, oh, okay. So the air gets like pushed out of me, and he like submits me. We stand up, we go again. So we continued. And I remember like, feint. With the right hand, and then over the top right round kick right to the neck. But I had the foot cushion. It was like blow, and then he just realized, he's like, wow, we both have like these deficiencies, and we became best of friends and started doing jiu-jitsu. And he like continued his martial arts training, and because of him, he's like that person who I was like, oh, I really need to learn this, because I had some concept of like my striking. I just didn't. I've never did any wrestling or any kind of grappling prior to that point. This is probably 2002.
Yeah,
2003.
That's interesting. But see what you
so
said.
Woke that up in me.
You remembered the move. You remember that sparring session. You remember what he did. You remember your counter. And I remember Gene always says that there's, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If I had to sum it up in a sentence, it's, this is my little lame attempt, but for me, what it means is that, there's a counter to a counter to a counter to a counter. It's like a chess game that has no ending, Jiu-Jitsu. And when you tell people you're a martial artist or you train, the initial first response is that, don't fuck with that guy. He's a bad motherfucker. Like, he's dangerous. Like, and at some point in your training, it goes from wanting to be a badass to just like this spiritual, personal growth, right? I
think so.
If you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, like I was telling you earlier before we started recording this, I would watch these films as a kid. Long story short, my dad passed away when I was 5. So I would always be...
Did he really? And where were you living at the time?
Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. Where in Brooklyn?
Flatbush.
So you're living in Flatbush,
Me,
5 years old.
My 3 other siblings. So it was my mom and 4 siblings.
And how many others? So you have 4...
I have 2 older sisters and a brother, and they're all older than me by like 9. My brother's the next youngest for me, and he's 9.5 years older than me. So
Bobby.
Bobby. So I always
that's my buddy.
So we always feel, I always feel like my parents kind of like 9.5 years later, we're like, let's see, still got it, like they just had.
What was it, man? What did he die from, man? If you don't mind me asking.
Heart attack.
Had a heart attack.
So
that's devastating.
Yeah, it's life. Life is it's a crazy trip, man. He was such a good person, but it came from elements of not taking care of himself. But he had his spirit and his energy. He was such a good person. I think it was partially, long story short, with he kind of died as a mixture of heartbreak and not taking care of himself.
He was heartbroken?
And stress. Well, he lent a large sum of money to a family member that was not repaid, and it kind of left him in a really bad spot, and he stressed over that.
Really?
And if it would have been a stranger, maybe he would have found other means to...
Do you know how much money it was?
$68,000 back in like late 70s.
That's a house.
People were buying property then, and
that was a house. He gave somebody a house.
Yeah, and
it was probably his life savings. What did he do for a living?
It was. I mean, he was a superintendent, and
for a building.
A superintendent and a doorman.
No,
so he and my mom would work alternating schedules, and he was just
a grinder, just a working guy.
Culture of hustlers, He grew up in
Albania,
in southern Montenegro, which used to be a part of Albania. It's all ethnically Albanian there, and he just grew up essentially in a world that was the Wild West. Him and his brother were like shoulder to shoulder, and everyone knew who they were, and they worked hard. And when they finally came to the point to come here to the States, it's actually my 2 sisters were born in France.
Oh wow! So they migrated from Albania to France?
They went to France. They lived there for a couple of years. And then my one uncle, my father's brother, was here in the States. And he was like, man, you got to come here, milk and honey.
Gold. There's gold in the streets here,
Make it happen, yeah. It's El Dorado out here.
Guys are making over $100 a week here.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
People have cars.
Yeah, they moved out and came to the States. My brother was born here. And then 9.5 years later, I was... you know,
Yeah, you were born.
created.
Well, ever since I went to Italy, I can never understand the concept of going from anywhere in Europe to here. It's a big lie. Because just being in Italy, I said to myself, I would rather be homeless and broke and living in this place because it's so beautiful and so calm and so serene than to want to go big. But when you're young, you have a family, you're looking for money, you're looking to, raise your family. And that's why a lot of our parents and grandparents came here looking for money. And eventually it wound up being part of the reason why I killed them. Fucking money. Right?
And it's nuts, man. It's
terrible.
It's not the. Yeah, I have an interesting relationship with that because I used to think like, is money the root of all evil? It's like, no, it's like people's lack of awareness. Like, evil's the root of all evil. It's not necessarily the money. It's just people not either maintaining their word or their character or being a good person. Anyway, to tie it back to what I was saying before, when I was a kid and my dad passed away, I would watch all these martial arts films. I would go Flatbush Avenue and buy these freaking VHS tapes that were dubbed off the side of Flatbush Avenue.
Literally, the Africans signed them on a table in Flatbush Avenue.
2 for $5, or 2 for 10, 2 for 15. Japanese animes, all types of crazy stuff. So
I would,
man. Pop in like Drunken Master or Enter the Dragon was the one that like I played on loop. I might have popped a few tapes of it and had to get others, and it's just like
VHS tapes.
Yeah, VHS tapes, So I'd watch this, and you'd always see a hero that was kind of struggling with the idea and like training in martial arts, and then they were like, oh, I don't want to be abusive, and then you'd realize like, they'd have some really good ability, then maybe they would like defeat some enemy, and then some master would tell them, yes, you have this physical ability, but are you a good person, essentially. So I would always watch it and be like, wow, that's cool. This like altruistic hero is saving the day, and that always like.
So as a kid, you're looking at the dichotomy of life.
Yeah,
the duality of man.
But then also like wrapped in action with like high kicks and throws and all that. So
most people are just looking at all that stuff. The kicks and the punches, and he beat the shit out of that guy. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's in this movie.
Yeah.
He's
like 7 foot plus tall.
Yeah, and he still beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I remember those. Remember those movies like Kareem would be in it, Chuck Norris would show up.
There's crazy stories behind all that stuff, like how they ended up in those films, and like how there's deeper philosophy behind it. But of course, it appeals to so many people. You see just that. The dichotomy of like someone gigantically tall with insane reach versus someone smaller, but intent,
And you got wrapped up in that stuff, right? You just from the beginning. For me, it was I Dream of Jeannie, and it was just Barbara Eden and her boobs. Yeah. See, you're a slightly deeper person than me, even from way back. I love that you know the theme to that.
Oh, I I was home all day.
So you watch. So that's your world.
It's crazy.
What's funny? I'm 15 fucking years older than you, and so you had to be watching reruns of I Dream of Jeannie.
I was watching tons of reruns because the thing was, when my dad passed, my mom became very sheltering of me because my brother was 15 when my dad passed away, and so he had a different experience. My dad actually passed away in his arms.
Oh my God. And I know Bobby, yeah.
So
that left an indelible mark on him, and that shaped him to be the person he is until this day, right? He became the dad.
His experience was very different, and then when he went out, he was kind of, how do I put it? Like he was spending time with my cousins because there were no other male figures. I mean, I was the younger brother, my 2 older sisters, my mom. So he had just lost his partner, like my dad was his partner. Like he was like, hey, my brother's 9 years old driving, sitting in my dad's lap. He's like, all right, you're going to learn how to drive. He always like put a responsibility to him because he wanted him to be a man.
That old school,
because ironically, my grandfather, my father's father, also passed away when my dad was 5. So I think,
oh my God,
he inherently had this thing where he was like,
I have to prepare him. Wow.
So
this instinctual idea that I have to get him prepared in case of anything, that might happen, and it actually
And my brother spent a lot of time in
It happened.
Bensonhurst with my cousins and, growing up there and spending a lot of time. So my mom kept me sheltered because she was worried. My brother was into fast cars and not that he was like some hoodlum guy, but he was out in the streets.
No, it's funny, man. It's funny that you say that because it's something that nobody really ever touches upon is that, I grew up in the 80s and in Brooklyn and even in the 70s, the 80s, the Albanians and the Croatians that immigrated here, the Albanians became very close to the Italians. Like there's so many Albanian friends that I have, but it's funny how they assimilated and took on the culture of Italian Americans. It's a very similar way of life in that part of the world, right? Yeah. It's a very strong family structure.
Next door neighbors, man.
It's right. So it's so it made sense, and there's so many Albanian guys. Like your brother Bobby, you look at him, you talk to him. He's an Italian from Bensonhurst. That guy, and not a over the top, like, hey, fuck out of here. He's just, he's not that guy. He's like, he has the manner, like, but he's Albanian, So you guys, I could see him on 86th Street. I could see him fucking cruising down 18th Avenue with the boys. And fucking Louis, Anthony, and Vinny over there.
So I think my mom, just being a mom, worried, and she wanted to make sure
you were the baby.
Her baby essentially was in sheltered. So and to the credit of my siblings and my mom, they did a really good job of that. I don't think until maybe my early teens, preteens, teens, I started to realize, I was like, oh, they kind of cushioned the blow of like all these things that happened in life, because it wasn't easy for us. We had freaking eviction notices on the door and all types of like crazy
man, your
stuff.
just world was in upheaval.
But
really,
that's insane. In being in that sheltered environment, I was watching tons of reruns. I was watching movies.
Yeah, you grew up watching TV.
Arts,
yeah,
so TV and film and video games really, even at some point, became very the falling into the fantasy of these stories.
Yeah, it kind of shaped you as a person. You were being raised by the television. There's a lot of kids that happens to.
Like what's his name from Cable Guy?
Yeah,
you stupid son of a. He was like, my lisp is gone. You stupid son of a bitch.
I don't know that movie or who that guy is,
Jim
so
Carrey and Cable Guy.
I'll have to edit Bruno into this. Yeah. The thing about me is, you'll see as we go along here, you'll see that I don't remember anything, and you can't quote a movie to me unless it's Godfather or Goodfellas or Raging Bull.
Nice.
Anything where Italians are acting violently, something about that stuck with me. I just find it very comical,
Yeah. So the long tie around, after all this stuff and wanting to be involved in martial arts, I finally got to a point where when I walked into the dojo, it was interesting because I got to sit in and watch a class, and at the time, Gene Dunn was a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right. And by the way, he became the first or second American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. First or second American to be awarded a black belt by the Gracie family.
Yeah, by Renzo Gracie.
Yeah, by Renzo, right.
Which is nuts because
it's insane. They don't. You want to talk about a family that doesn't just give it out? That's the rap too about American martial arts. There's a lot of places, they call them McDojos.
Oh yeah,
where they just pay your bills, get a belt. That's not Gene. That's not the Henzos. That's not the way this works. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, man, you might not get a belt from Gene Dunn until he feels like you're spiritually ready for it. That's So when Henzo when he got that black belt from the Henzos, if you think about what that sport has become and who that family is and what they represent in this country, he was I think the second, him and his friend who trained with them, the 1-2 became the first two guys that were the Henzo that got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from the Gracie family.
He was certainly part of that first handful of
He was. Yeah,
that's undeniable, yeah.
Yeah, so you were in there with somebody significant. Now, what happens is, was there a clear perceptual difference in your mind from what you saw on TV and what you're watching in person? Was there a moment when you said, "Wow, this is either better or worse or different or not what I expected"?
I think that realization or that awareness came over time, because I realized that, a film is almost always, or television or whatever, is a fanciful expression of something. So there's an ultimate truth and there's a through line between the two. But when you're in there and you're sweating and you're putting in the work, it's different than maybe watching somebody. Now, actually, when I go back and watch those films, I actually do appreciate it a bit more, because I'm like, oh yeah, they're trying to find some physical representation of the hard work,
right,
the sweat, the thought process, the time it takes, you know.
And okay, yeah. So, but talk about that. You know, what my wife actually looked it up online, but as I started to progress in the martial arts, it became simultaneously more fulfilling and more difficult physically, because what happens is you're not just you take like a front kick or just a regular punch, just a jab cross combination, right? You say those words, jab cross, and then as you progress, like as a white belt, you go, oh, I got it. Or even a yellow belt, you go, oh, I can jab cross. But as I started getting closer to black belt, as a brown belt, I'm thinking that jab cross was not what it should have been, because you didn't get your hips into it. Your feet were too far apart. So everything becomes this, like almost like an opera in your head. And you can take that jab cross and not perfect it until 5 years, until it's just natural. Like when you watch a guy like Gene or some of the people that we train with, some of the guys that have been doing it for many, many years, Manny and those guys, Jose, and like the guys that have been doing it, and you watch a jab cross with those guys, it's crisp, perfect, right? So what appealed to me and what struck me was this is years and years, and if you let it get into your head the right way, it's a never-ending quest there's always something to improve.
There's specifically moments where, I had a training session just 2 days ago, jiu-jitsu class, and just trying to remain calm in the pocket.
What does that mean, in the pocket?
In the pocket, like, so I was on the bottom of someone's mount.
Right.
And they were tight. They were like a wet blanket on me, constantly going for submission, from submission to submission. So I was like, okay, I need to remain calm in this moment and not allow my ego to go crazy, because there were these little flickers in my head of like, oh, payback. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? Like, that's not the right thing to do. And
why? Why do you suppress that?
Because it will automatically, invariably put me in a worse position and put me in a spot where I will be, essentially my ego will defeat me in it and allow the person the opportunity. So what ended up happening, I was just very calm, kind of fighting off each submission, different, making sure grips that I didn't like were on me, trying to maintain inside control and be in a better spot. And then at the end, I actually felt a sense of accomplishment, because I was like, okay, I didn't get submitted in this crazy experience. Which
you grew from that moment.
Yeah, but I also, even though I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but there are times where I'm like, man, I just mentally wearing a white belt all the time. Like, you have to learn. I can't just so. Then try not to let my ego get involved, I guess.
Yeah, that ego that you talk about, that's that animalistic instinct to fight back, to fucking hand off my neck, motherfucker, that type of thing, right? Like, this motherfucker, I'm gonna break him, and you have to quell that.
Yeah, because
right?
but when you think, for me, where does that stem from? I think like, just fear. I guess the simplest thing is like, where does that come from? It comes from fear, like a fear of, getting
looking
hurt
bad,
or looking bad or whatever. And then
ego.
and then it's like, well, does that even matter? Because do I want to just like? There are days where I've been the other person and I felt really smooth and I'm like moving around and like always in a good position.
Right.
And so it's like, it's going to happen for me too throughout the journey of my training.
Yeah.
Not every day is going to be the best. Even though looking back, it was awesome.
You know what it's funny. I'm 49 now. So I think I started when it's a good 10 years now, because Tommy and I My little guy got a black belt. He got his little junior black belt, and I got my black belt with him. That's a great story. We'll talk about another time.
No, I know. I was
you were there
for that, man.
Yeah, you remember I had the broken foot, and I couldn't jog, and I had to do the bike instead, and that whole sparring with all the black belts. You guys came at us. Were you part of the line? I think you're the part of the line. Or anyway, it was amazing. You have to fight a series of black belts, spar with you guys with the black belts, but. We'll talk about that another time because that's one of my favorite stories.
I love the you and Tommy though, the father son combo. That hits me, man. Anytime I see that, like a father and son doing something together, I'm like, that's awesome.
Let me tell you, man, the final thing that happened on the third day, it was a 3-day test. The third day of the test, Sensei Charles was administering the test, and he. The final thing he did was, I'm going to tell you, there were moments where I almost had a test again because I had I had 3 broken bones on my foot. It was just odd. It was just it was like a movie.
What happened to your foot?
I
don't even know if I knew that at that time.
I broke bones in my foot. Somehow I kicked somebody at sparring, and
an elbow or something.
The pad. As I'm kicking, the pad slipped to the side, and there was an elbow or a knee, and it might have been Jose, or it was one of the guys that aren't you just gonna let me kick them? Like you're a really good martial artist, and I kicked, and I just felt a little crunch, and I went, oh my pad. I fixed my pad, and then a month later, I'm training for the test to. Part of the test was jogging, the run. Mm-hmm. The part of the test is the run. You have to do what is it, run of the 2.5 miles in a certain amount of time. So I started jogging, and every time I'd hit my left foot, it would hurt a little bit, and the days are going on, and it's hurting. So I thick-headed. I thought I would just push through it. Finally my wife made me an appointment for the doctor and did the x-ray, and it was like 2 weeks before the test, and he said, you're not testing, you're not doing anything. You have 3 broken bones. One of them is already healing the wrong way. So I said, wrong answer, doc. I'm taking this test with my son. We're doing it. So he said, well, you're not. I can wrap it up, and I can give you a shot. What's that shot that they give you? The cortisone. He goes, but I'm telling you as a doctor, you're not supposed to do it. I don't want you to do it. You're not allowed to do it, and you do what you want with that information. So I went to go see in our dojo. Everybody's very, like most places, very supportive. And so the sensei said, well, the only other option you have is instead of doing the run, you can do the bike. And it's something like 25 miles or it's something insane in an hour and a half or
I forgot what it was, but it was intense.
So that's what I did. I did the bike, and there's a whole great story with that. And the guys some of the older black belts who I hadn't seen in weeks got wind of this news, and when I went to test, it was me. It was freezing. It was me, Sensei, my wife, and Tommy at Marine Park.
Yeah,
freezing at 8 o'clock in the morning. Wind blowing. I had to borrow Mr. Lamboy's bike because I didn't have a bike. Who has a bike? You know what I mean? I'm a fat dad, for most of my life. And then I lost weight, obviously, for the test and training, but I don't have a bike. So I had to borrow somebody's bike. It was a professional. And the guys from the dojo, 3 of them, show up with bikes. And I hadn't seen them for weeks. And they were like, all right, you ready? Let's do this. Had it not been for those guys, I wouldn't have done it. They were timing me, pacing me, getting behind me. Don't let me touch you. Don't let me touch you. And I made it by 5 minutes with my broken foot, I don't think I've ever done anything that amazing or physically. That was a moment, I fell off the bike at the end. My son's hugging me and Sensei's there. And my wife was like, all right, let's get the hell out of here. It's freezing.
Let's warm up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That's beautiful, dude. Wow.
But I started that. I don't know why I started that story. What was I saying?
Well, no, I don't know. It's going all around. I'm excited, man. So if I jump around, that's probably
me too. But
I
had a point to make at the beginning of this is that something, But yeah, that the idea that here's the point. Here's when you were talking about being in that moment when you're gonna let your ego get to you. So I grew up around a bunch of animals. I got into trouble in my life. Animal. We are animal. You know, so I grew up around a bunch of animals. I was an animal. I used to get into fights, and I hung out with some really horrible people. Horrible. Now they're all dads and they're great guys, but you know, we were violent. We were young. We were Italian. We were in Brooklyn. Everybody used to fight each other.
Probably
And
first generation
yeah,
guys
it was
seeking identity.
yeah.
I mean, there's all that stuff.
Oh,
behind
it's
that,
horrible.
man.
It's horrible. I'm so embarrassed of the way I used to act when I was young, because it was all about fighting and us against Avenue U or 18th Avenue versus Bay Parkway. Like, it was just stupid shit in Brooklyn, but you had to know how to take care of yourself. And I used to just fight for no reason all the time. Fights, and violence, and it was really bad and stupid. And when I started training, you know, full on in karate, almost immediately, like within 30 to 60 days, I realized how I was never tough. I was never a good guy. I was never a stand-up guy. I was always violent. I was, you know, you're a product of your environment, but the truth is that I always had a low self-esteem. My ego was always running my brain, you know, and you start to, when you get into the presence of guys like you and Shihan and Declet and some of these people that are in that world, you start to look at them and you go, oh, hurting another human being doesn't really make you a tough person, does it? Like, being the guy who is violent and destructive is kind of an animal, isn't it? Like, you lose respect for yourself and the person you were and the people you used to hang out with, to the point where literally after 60 days, I knew more about how to fight and hurt somebody than I ever knew in my whole life. And that newfound information and, I don't want to say power, but ability to hurt a human being, immediately, thank God, in my older brain, deemed a certain necessary responsibility to never hurt anybody, to always walk away, to find the peaceful way out. And then it applied to business and being a father and that's the martial arts. That's what martial arts does for you.
Well, there's a whole path. Well, first of all, thank you for even mentioning me in the same.
Oh, without you wouldn't
as,
you're a big part of it.
Dunn and,
yeah,
and Sensei Declet, because they're both amazing.
Yeah, you're in that company. I think we all are. I think any of us that train and do it the right way should be. And I don't think Sensei or Shihan or any of those guys would want it any other way. They would want us to include us in that sentence.
I think there is that duality in martial arts, because it's not combatives, and it's not this esoteric, like, oh, I'm going to chi blast this person and love will enter their body, and you know, so it's like, no, you got to find the balance, because some people are into they're into combatives so much that it's like, how do I destroy another human being? And then, you know, so we try to find that middle spot, hopefully, where our martial arts is effective, but we're very aware of what it can do, and how do we then make life better? I guess.
How do you make it better? How do you use that information and that power? Because fear is the key and the bottom line. From playing baseball my whole life to having playing football and basketball, you're driven by aggression and fear of losing and fear of looking bad and that ego. And you're less of a man if you lost the thing, the championship, the game, made the bad play. And I watch it happening to my sons, and they're living in that team sport world, which I'm a big fan of in certain respects. But you see grown men screaming at children when they make an error, or what are you doing? You got to make the play.
You're a fucking loser.
What are you doing? You're an embarrassment to me.
Yes, man.
Oh,
that's heartbreaking, man.
So I told my wife, there's a part of me that goes, why am I exposing them to this? And then, but they love sports, they love to play, and as long as the great thing about my kids is that they're able to process where it's coming from. They consider the source. So they go, oh, Dad, my son Tommy had such a great sentence. He said, wow, all 4 coaches on my team collectively have about 4 or 5 less IQ points than me, Dad. I know these guys are just
he's
just
such
funny.
a good, smart kid.
He's funny, So what happened was I would start to tell my friends, these guys I grew up with that I still hang out with, we had it all wrong. This is a different, walk away. We should have walked away. And invariably, like, what are you talking about? So you're going to let a guy disrespect you? If you're in a situation and a guy is doing this, you're going to just let him say it? And I go, yeah, I'm going to walk away because I already know the outcome. I know the outcome, When it comes to physically fighting, I was always able to handle myself. Now that I know this, it's not even, it's silly. It's silly to engage in a fight with a guy, same size, same experience, my age. It's not even a fight. It's just silly. It's an abuse of what I've been taught by these amazing people who are trusting me with this knowledge to handle myself and conduct myself the right way. And then I was on a golf course, which I never golf. And, it was around the second year of training. And I would always preach this to my friends, how you have to walk away and you can't engage. But you don't know until you're tested in real life. You don't know how you're going to respond. So what happens is I got to make sure this is recording or Bruno will kill me. Yeah. So I'm on a golf course. I'm a lefty golfer, and I keep leaving my clubs behind, and the guys behind me keep bringing them back to me. Say, hey, you forgot them again. It became like a running joke. So they gave me my clubs again, and I drive away. And then what had happened was a guy who was also a lefty left his clubs behind, and those guys gave me this guy's club. He comes pulling up in a golf cart like a psycho. Hey, motherfucker, you took my fucking club, bro. Where's my just
wow.
Like,
that serious, man?
Yeah, just serious, like,
wow,
ready to throw. You stole my club. And I'm going, what? I go, who are you? What? And I don't know what he's even talking about. I'm a lefty. He's a lefty. It's very rare for lefties. So as he's saying it to me, I'm going, what? You think I stole your club? And, but here's what happens. He's about 10 feet away, and he's coming at me, and he's waving his arms, and he's like putting them up by his face like he wants to fight. Like he's squaring off on me, and he's about 10 years younger than me. And this crazy thing happened in my brain. It was so a part of training. Everything slowed down. Everything. The world stopped. And it seemed like the earth was spinning at about 1/1,000,000th of the speed for me than everybody else. And his voice disappeared. And it was like I was looking at a skeleton with meat on it. It's hard to explain. I had this conversation with Shihan, and he was smiling. He was like, it was like this realization, and he's coming at me. And as he's getting closer, I go, I swear to you, Afrim, I go, throat? No, you're going to kill him. Ribs, look at his ribs. They look so beautiful. You could just collapse his ribs. And then I go, no, just tap the button. Just jab the button. This is what's happening in my brain. And then a voice said, you're not violent. It's his ego, not your ego. You're not going to touch him. You're going to duck and weave, and you're going to run away or walk away, because it's like Shihan and Sensei are standing behind you. So what are you going to do? If they were watching you, what would you do? You're going to hurt this person? You're going to take that knowledge that they entrusted on you and the lineage, and you're going to disgrace them like that? Why? Because he's making you look bad in front of your friends? This is the shit that's going on in my brain within seconds. You hit like the space of hyper focus. I guess that's what the name of it is. Is that what it's called? Hyper focus?
It's just like, yeah, you hyper focused on the thing that was, I have such a relatable situation that happened one time.
Really? What happened?
Unfortunately, of all places, at a wedding.
Oh God.
And the funny thing is,
men are assholes. Men are fucking monkeys.
Yeah, so it's funny because in every situation in my life, I've been in company of different cultures, different people, and there would be moments where it felt like it was about to go down, and I would always somehow step in and be like, guys, come on, man, it's all good. I step away, whatever.
You're the guy. You're the peacemaker. You're the guy. You're the voice of reason.
My friends joke around. They call me Sweden. They're like, you're like fucking Sweden. You come in, you don't.
He's neutral.
Yeah, you're neutral, man. You just want everyone to be okay, and that's fine.
That's a great quality.
So in this instance, not to get into too much detail, but some guy swung and
At you?
No, he actually hit my. Let me go this way. We're at this.
Yeah,
place
tell
in
the
New-
story. We got
we're-
nothing but
we're
time,
at
man.
We're at this place in New Jersey. I can't freaking remember the name of it. But
This
it was,
place in New Jersey
it was,
already.
No, it was actually a beautiful
Yeah.
hall, like
Yeah,
a wedding
sure,
hall.
sure it
But
was.
yeah, this
Yeah.
place
Surrounded
in,
by
place-
animals.
Place in Jersey.
No, it's the most beautiful place, just like
Yeah.
the most beautiful hall in Brooklyn, inhabited by animals.
Yeah, the
Right.
Bronx Zoo is
Yeah,
beautiful
of
too.
course, yeah, but
it's
there's
filled with
fucking gorillas
animals.
in there, right?
There's gorillas in there.
And these gorillas happen to be wearing gold chains.
So
Right.
anyway, long story short, my brother and I are walking through the space, and he sees this guy that he knows, and he's like, "Oh," he goes, "Hey, what's up, man?" The guy's like, "Do I know you?" My brother's like, "Yeah, it's me, Bobby."
Oh,
And the guy, whether he's on, drugs or something like that, just had this look in his face, and I'm kind of like literally hands in my pocket, walking around looking at the place. I'm like, man, this place is beautiful. And I realize like something's going on. So I kind of walk in, and the guy then looks at me and he's like, "You got a problem?"
Oh, God.
I'm like, "No, man." I was like, "I'm just, here with my brother." And for some reason, me and my brother being there, he thought that whatever.
He was drunk, he was high, he was coked up, he was something.
swung from his back pocket, hits my brother.
Oh, my God, he hit him.
My hands were in my pocket, and literally, I'll never forget, this happened without thinking, because there were two other people with that guy there. My hand came out of my pocket, and my right hand, boom, right on his chin.
There you go.
He falls, and
Dropped
I
him.
remember looking, like he felt like a ton of bricks.
Chin?
And,
Button?
Yeah, on the side. And,
Yeah.
But I was in awe that even happened, and my hand was still like,
Yeah.
came back to me, and I look at everyone. I was like, hey guys, we're at a wedding.
Oh, my
like,
God.
let's not do this.
So the guy who knocked him out
So
showed up for a half a second, and then your brain clicked off back to, hey, it's you. It's amazing. Your training
anyway,
just kicked in. You just,
and it was like,
but you knocked the guy out without even
no,
thinking
not,
about
not,
it.
Not clear KO, but he
No.
he fell. Like he.
I know, brother. I
No,
know.
he fell.
I know how to clear KO.
He fell.
Just debilitating.
Yeah, so
temporarily.
he fell, and I looked at her. I was like, guys, we're at a wedding. Like, let's not do this, because it's first of all embarrassing, and we're all like essentially
Grown men.
grown men and of the same culture and all that. Not that shit
It
matters
should.
to some
It should
people.
matter.
It should.
You're here with the same people. It's
And
your
then it
fucking
becomes
family.
like this barroom blitz because
Oh, it
now
really did?
now
Immediately?
because- yeah, but we were in like some other room, so like some people are going here fighting, and the whole time I hit that same space where it was like this hyper focus, and I was paying attention, making sure like
you had no
nobody was
choice but
getting
to fight.
hurt.
Is that what you're saying? You had no choice.
Yes, but also what ended up happening is like the floor was wet, chairs were falling. It was so.
Oh
it
my
was like
God! It was a
literally
brawl.
like yeah.
Did
so-
Bobby get hurt?
No, he just gotten hit. But actually, what ended up happening, I got hit in the head with a chair.
Oh my God!
So I'm like bleeding from my head, and still the whole time it was very weird because I like have different feelings about it, and the best version of myself is happy that nobody really
Right.
got hurt.
No, because
the
if
whole
you-
time
yeah.
I was really trying to neutralize it
Yeah.
because I didn't want to just go in
The-
for the kill like
friend,
an animal and
the
hurt
yeah,
someone
see,
because
that's
it's
the-
not the right thing to do.
That's the thing. The alternative.
Which I've been ironically ridiculed for because someone, other people have told me, oh, well, as soon as that happened, you should have this, and that. I'm like, guys, what am I going to do?
No, I disagree. I think
You
as
know?
soon as that happened, whatever your instinct was on point, number one. And number two, it's hard to say this, man. It's hard to articulate this. The outcome is devastating violence, gut-wrenching violence. The outcome of you unleashing yourself on a group of guys, you know what I mean? Knowing what you know, it's not who we are. It's the outcome is hospitalization. It's months of rehab. Like you have a responsibility, man. The things that we do, you can collapse a knee, you can crack an arm, you know what I mean, without thought. Like it's a very fucking dangerous, responsible position to be in. And if you're taught the right way, you're taught to be responsible with that. When people hear me talk like this, I always think that there's a couple guys that are gonna be listening like, fuck you, bro. You ain't that bad. But it's not about being a badass. It's about
Do I really want to hurt somebody and kill somebody?
No.
Did I also want to be hurt at all? No. But
No.
what I was trying to do is pacify the situation, because I don't know. Maybe I just think a little differently. I'm with people of my culture.
Yeah.
The hope is like, it's also a wedding. You're like, don't want to. I don't know. And maybe somebody's like, oh, you should have been, this or that. But I don't.
Yeah,
know.
let's make
I
the
feel-
bride's wedding day all about us and how tough we are. Let's do
and
that.
It's not about that.
Let's
And-
do that,
and-
right? Is that
and-
what you want? You want me to beat the shit out of people and leave a bloody mess of humans where this woman is getting married and this guy is getting married and it's supposed to be their day? Ego. Whoever the guy who started it is at fault. He's the guy who is the worst fucking version of himself. You're at a wedding. You made it about you.
And he's probably dealing with stuff in his life, shortcomings, fears,
Right. Yep.
Married, kids, probably doesn't know and also not everyone's going to be on the same level of thought as some other people.
Yeah.
And not that I'm like some special person, but I think if I have a level of awareness, it becomes then my responsibility to try to help other people.
Well,
that guy, if I were to see him today, I'd be like, listen, the situation was messed up, but I forgive you, man.
Of course.
Shit happens.
Because you have an understanding. If that could permeate everybody in the world, we'd be all right. We're fucking spinning around on a speck of sand in the universe, like doing all this crazy shit, hurting each other, being violent, all this silly shit, So listen, back to Gene Dunn, back to that first day. You're in the dojo, right? And you immediately did you feel a kinship immediately? Where you're like, all right, this is it. I'm all in.
I just feel like I had hit a point of responsibility in my life where I was like, man, I can do this. Because I think when I was younger, we didn't have the money to do it.
Right.
So it never was like a thing that I could really kind of step into.
Right.
But then when I was, probably 20 at this point, when I had walked back in 1920, and I sat in, I watched the class. I didn't actually take the jiu-jitsu class, but I watched it, and I was like, wow. And Shihan, it's funny. It's hard to call him Gene or like Gene.
I know.
Shihan, out of respect. But he,
Yep.
he was sitting next to me at the time, and we were talking. And he's like, how old are you? 20. He's like, oh man, like just the idea of the potential of like a 20-year-old at the time in 2004, wanting to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, now there are obviously guys who are 17-year-old prodigies. You have like,
Yeah, well, yeah.
I can't think of their names, but all these like super young guys that are in it, and like but I did feel a kinship. I felt that sense of like, oh wow, this place is going to be the place where I train. And as I did start to train, I realized I was in the right place. I mean, and even since then, since 2004, on and off, and being away and moving and coming back and training, it was always my home, and also there was an evolution in philosophy, in growth of the school, and in the way that the martial arts is being taught.
Yeah. I think Shihan is unique in the sense that he was of and from that world way before it got so popular, as this like cultural thing that happened in America, that as the UFC grew and MMA grew, this theory of submissions and beating and competition, the more that happened, the stronger his belief in no competition. We don't go to tournaments. We don't collect trophies. We don't look to hurt each other. We look to help each other grow. And this idea of, one of his famous things, one of the things he'll talk about when he's training is the law of the jungle. And we're like more of the law of the forest, right?
Yeah, law of the farm,
Law of the farm, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So he talks about being law of the jungle, and we're more about the law of the farm. And what does that mean? That means the law of the jungle is,
survival of the fittest, man.
Survival of the fittest. But the farm is all about cultivation and growth, right?
Everyone works together to harvest something.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
It's a strange paradox to be in a room where you're learning how to choke the life out of somebody, yet growing as a person and not using that, right?
That comes with a responsibility, because okay, you're learning this not so you can just be like, hey buddy, I'm skipping you in line, choked out.
Right.
Or something ridiculous like you know you can't wait, like me earlier, I couldn't wait in the Dunkin' Donuts line, just start choking everybody out. No, it's not. That would be a gross abuse of that.
You walk into a movie theater. I'm sitting here, armbar,
Yeah.
snap.
Oh, I'm sitting here now.
I don't wait for red lights. You're good. You know what I mean? It's like apply it to fucking everything in life. And then you're training. What year is this? This is 2000.
2004.
2004, you're training. And how long was it before you decided to go to L.A.? Because, okay, you had a kinship with the television shows and the programs and all the stuff you're watching on television. So you knew. I mean, there's a lot of kids that were stayed at home and stayed by themselves, but there aren't many who had that connection to what they were watching. Like that, I think, is the beginning of knowing that you're an artist, that you're an actor, that you want to tell stories, that you want to express yourself. So you knew kind of like that you were an actor, right?
I knew that I wanted to do it. I think in high school, we did musicals.
So it happened in high school.
It happened where I did a couple of things there, and then as it
What did you do? Which musicals?
The first one was West Side Story.
So you did West Side Story.
Yeah.
And who were you in West Side Story?
Riff.
You were Riff in West Side Story.
Versus Bernardo.
Oh, no.
Which, yeah. So that was...
How did that go? It
was super fun. I mean,
Did you take any abuse from, like, I always picture Brooklyn acting, high school. Were there kids that were like, hey, bro, yeah.
There's an irony because I went to William E. Grady High School.
You went to Grady, right.
And it's a technical vocational high school.
Right.
I studied automotive just really more to like I know how to jack up a car and maybe change a tire.
I just see you doing one-man plays on how to change a tire.
Yeah, so that was it. I did that, and then it wasn't really my passion. Like the reality was, I actually probably would have liked to have gotten into like audiovisual.
Yeah.
Or
something more creative.
Even culinary arts.
Yeah.
But, God forbid you're a teenage guy trying to do culinary arts.
God, it's so amazing.
What are you, some kind of fag or something like that?
You know, it's amazing you say that.
And, of course, being scared of it at the time because you know.
Yeah. Look, we faced that, man. I faced that my whole life. And now my son is 12 years old. And he's in a very, very good junior high school. But he is undoubtedly, without question, just an actor. And expressing interest in that to the point where it's a problem for my wife. Because she's saying, all he talks about is being an actor. What's this stuff about being acting? What's being an actor? What is that about? He's got to focus on school. We agree about school, right? We're on the same page. And I'm like, first of all, calm down. Nobody's telling him to leave school and go to L.A. He's 12, and it's not going to happen. Second of all, no, we're not on the same page. School is the priority, without question, but you can't then crush the idea that this kid wants to be an actor. Because, listen, he is. Afrim, when you spend 20 minutes with a kid, he'll tell you a story about a guy, and he imitates the guy, and, he's an actor. He's an artist, So...
A storyteller like his dad.
Living
not in a bad way.
Yeah.
This guy's got more stories than Walt Disney.
This fucking guy was over there with the fucking guy with the golf club. Get the fuck out of here.
He came up to me. He's like, yo, you stole my golf clubs. I was like, I'm going to beat you up in slow motion.
I ran him over with the... I beat this guy up in slow motion.
It was like a fucking movie, bro.
Everything fucking slowed down because I'm a martial artist. The fuck out of here. I know karate, bro. I train with Gene Dunn.
I was actually on Xanax, and everything was so I fell asleep. He beat me up.
Let me tell you something. I know Gene Dunn for 25 years. I just got off the phone with him.
That's the other thing. Grass nap.
That's the other thing guys might, like the Italians from Brooklyn. Yeah. They'll tell you how good of a friend they are. Like, I'm fucking hanging with Robert De Niro. I just got off the phone with him 20 minutes ago.
I texted Bobby 2 minutes ago.
Yeah,
come
me
on.
and Gene. I was fucking hanging out with him. We did a pork chop fucking bouillabaisse over the weekend. That's my fucking friend from Brooklyn. But that fucking idea that you want to be an actor, oh my God, your mother and then your family must have been like, what?
It was a little tough because I think they, coming from a blue collar, hardworking background, acting just wasn't on the radar. It was like, and I think even for me, subconsciously in the beginning, even going to college, they were like, well, what's the plan? What's the plan B? So I would always think, well, what is the plan B? Versus thinking like, no, this is plan A, and other things are going to be supportive of plan A.
Right.
Which eventually is what the kind of the philosophy I came to in my own life, where it's like, oh no. And then now, they see certain successes and, credits that I have under my belt now, and
That's how people judge it.
Yeah, and people are like, man,
Oh, he's on TV. I saw him on Law and Order.
Oh, shoot, you're on Blacklist Redemption. That's awesome.
Right. Let me tell you something. My friend's doing good. I saw him on.
I texted him 2 minutes ago.
I texted him 2 minutes ago. He's on. He was with that guy Ice-T on Law and Order 5 episodes. He was the guy who shot the guy at the beginning of the episode. That's how people quantify and qualify your existence, right?
It's a lifetime. I think it's a lifetime gig. I mean, if you're really somebody that loves the art and the craft of acting, because that's the thing. That's a big debate amongst actors. Is it a craft or is it an art? And I believe it can be both. I think it has to be a craft, and then if you pour your full self into it, then it can be an art. But there are also like silly. Sometimes I just want to be a part of a silly project that's just a matter of expressing some whimsical part of myself. It doesn't have. Not every performance I do is a Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln. So
here's the thing, man. The way I see it is, it's like a gift and a curse almost. Like there's voices in our head that are never going to shut up. There's voices and characters and things and ideas that are never going to go away. And those are the things that human beings, that to me is the best part about being a person. Like the idea that William Shakespeare couldn't stop himself from just writing and creating. And then, that's the essence of being human. Like to create this thing where there was no thing, like to step into a role and it's words on a paper, and then to create that guy, and that guy exists, and then people are entertained by that, or you add something to the world. There's certain specific people that can do that. That's you. That's me. That's guys that are, and now that doesn't mean I'm an astrophysicist. That doesn't mean you're better than anybody, or, so that's like, you see how I had to just do that? I had to just pull myself back and say, I'm not better than you.
Preface it somehow.
Because that's what people think immediately,
Yeah.
When I was doing all these independent films, I got wind of, like, there's a woman in our family on my wife's side who I loved, and she's so great and funny and wonderful. And then I heard her say, TJ thinks he's a big shot because he's in these movies. And I was like, what?
Why would you?
What's her perception? What is that? What did I do to portray that to her? I don't,
we have our own versions of that. Like, for years, I would preface telling people I'm an actor. Like, I act in something. Like, trying to kind of make it less than how much I actually cared about it, because I was looking at other people's perception about it.
Yeah, don't think I'm trying to sound like I'm too much of a big shot. I know I'm not Robert De Niro, but I do some acting, and we qualify it and quantify it with people. But, again, back to Gene Sheehan. Allow yourself that success. Allow it. Allow yourself to be that person, because all the people we idolize and look up to, that's the one thing. Like, if you, like, I like the Rolling Stones, right? I don't think Mick Jagger ever in his life was like, I do a little bit of singing. I'm pretty good at it. You know what I mean? He was always
I sing sometimes.
This is who the fuck I am, and I don't.
But then
all the greats do that.
Also spending time actually doing the thing. Like, especially now in the world of the internet, we're fortunate enough where we can express ourselves on a forum like this, and do episodes of a podcast or have social media and all that stuff. But I think people now, how do you say it? Like, just there's a braggadociousness that comes out without having put in the work. Whereas someone like Gene Dunn put the work in for years and years and years and years and years, and he's not in the spotlight. He's not someone that people are gonna like. I mean, if you listen, there's actually a really interesting episode of Joe Rogan Experience podcast where he talks about having had a conversation with John Danaher, who, if you don't know who John Danaher is, just
who is he?
Google.com. He's one of Renzo Gracie's black belts that's considered like this mad scientist of jiu-jitsu who has created all these or discovered or rediscovered these concepts within jiu-jitsu that make it better, that make the art at a higher level.
Gene Dunn is of that ilk.
Yes. So they're all...
And he's friends with... They trained with him.
Yes.
Right?
So, and the conversation, I guess, between Joe Rogan and John Danaher, John Danaher was saying how there are people that aren't in the limelight that you don't know about that are let alone world class beyond. Like they're on a level that they're not competing, they're not doing that stuff, and not to on a personal level, I'm not trying to shit on someone else for doing their things, or people who aren't that
being a fighter,
world.
being an MMA. Exactly.
Some people have to express themselves in a different way.
Yeah, and there's a world with that. There's a world within a world of that. That's fine.
But
yeah,
it was said.
It's awesome
said that there
right.
are people that train and do stuff. I mean, look at Professor Glick, Brian Glick in Jiu-Jitsu. Like these are people who are not in the competitive limelight, but they train for the love of it, and they train for the effectiveness of it.
World class.
You can be world class without being in the limelight all the time.
It's an odd thing, right? To be in the presence of a guy like that, and
that's kind of the duality of being a martial artist. Like, it's not always about that. I mean,
because you're not looking for that. You're not looking for that acceptance or approval from people. It's just inherent in what they do, right? It's a strange world. It's a pretty. I could see the parallel between that and acting and being an artist. Like, what is art? What is it? What does it mean to me? To me, art is anytime somebody creates something that didn't exist out of just their own thoughts and feelings and emotions and puts it forward, whether it's a sketch or a song or a screenplay or a piece of acting, that to me is art. That's what separates us from animals, I
think honest creative expression that is tied in with actual work. I think sometimes people start to think like, and I've been caught up in this where I'm like, oh, I'm acting. Do I just like kind of keep my head down and do the work and not worry about if it's an art, or just like all these weird, inside my head conversations about what I'm doing. And it's like, as long as I'm being honest and I'm expressing myself and I really put in the work, then it doesn't matter. The outcome is not my concern. That's right. It's just a matter of am I putting in the work, or am I analyzing it so much that I paralyze my brain, I paralyze my actions.
Yep.
I take myself out of the equation by thinking too much.
It's like a building block of the future you.
Yeah.
You'll take stuff away from it. You'll learn. You'll grow. You'll, remember the feeling. Remember the vibes.
And as I have this conversation, there's a little voice in my head. Hey, what the fuck do you know, man?
Exactly. You'll walk away from this.
Trying to
Yeah, but that's what happens. You'll walk away from today going, shit. Maybe I should have said this or thought this, or why didn't I think this at that point in time? But fuck it.
Public service announcement. This is a work in progress. Afrim Gjonbalaj's brain.
I love your last name too, Gjonbalaj.
Yeah, it's like I try to tell people, it's like jambalaya, like the stew.
That's how your brother used to explain it to me. Like the soup, jambalaya.
Like the
You just take the A off the end. How's Tommy doing? Your brother
he's
always sweet.
Asks for you quite a bit.
I love him. His son and my son trained at the dojo as well.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me pause this. I want to stop this for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're going to pick it up in a second because we're at an hour and 8 minutes.
Ooh.
You love it?
Wow.
Bruno likes small files. Wow, we turned the mics on to see how it would sound and see if it would work, and then we spoke for an hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What's that about?
I don't know. Maybe we got some stuff to say.
Y'all bullshitting. Y'all bullshitting, though.
Y'all bullshitting, though.
No, on the real, though. On the real.
Yo, I was like, I walked in that studio. I was like, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, man. These motherfuckers ain't playing games up in this bitch, man.
I love that. Sometimes I'll listen in on people's conversations, and they won't, like, if you listened in on it as a third party, you're like, I actually don't know what you mean. I was there, and I was like, see that, but I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that
like,
motherfucker's crazy though.
I have no clue.
No, but he ain't said that. She said that though. That's the subway, right?
She said that though. Oh,
yeah,
one of the things I heard recently was, hold on a second.
And by the way, those are two Asian kids we're doing right now.
Yeah, yes.
Those are Asian kids in New York it stands.
First of all, if you guys assume that was anything else than the two real Asian people that we saw having this conversation, maybe you should check your privilege.
Yeah, check it. Check yourself for you. Wreck your motherfucking self, though. It's real. Yo, that shit is real, man.
It's real. Hold on. What was this?
Man, these motherfuckers bullshitting though, man.
When I got that other DUI, I was like, yo, that shit is mad good.
What's that from? Is that you repeating what you just heard on the subway?
Yeah, I try to record these little snippets of stuff I hear, and it like triggers my brain.
No, you don't.
Not in the offensive way, but I'm like, yo, what did that mean?
What is the process behind
I was like on my second DUI, and I was like, yo, that shit is mad good. Like, where did that come from?
What does that mean? What's the fucking basis of that statement? I do that all the time. You know what else I do? My sons love when I do this. I will say random words in a sentence to somebody that sounds like we're having a conversation, but they're not listening to what I'm saying. So they continue with the conversation. Like, I had an Uber driver. I did it with him for 30 minutes. Here's how it goes. Yeah, you know, this is a very, very crazy city. You're driving in the city. There's a lot of traffic, my friend. There's a lot of traffic. And I'll say, yeah, a lot of times because, you know, people are involved with different stuff. Yes, my friend, this is crazy. You know, one time I'm driving on the FDR drive, and this guy going very slow. And like, what the hell is this guy's problem? This is the problem. Yeah, because, you know, look, it's a situation where you can either benefit or not. That's because I'll say literal, and it becomes this. It becomes, you know, my friend, there too many people. They driving in New York. There's too many people. There's too many people driving. And I'll go, look, it's indicative of the centennial celebration mocked by many in Canada in 1741. Random words come to my head. Yes, that's the same way, my friend. This is why I'm not driving too much. You know? Try it.
Oh, I love it.
Try it. Here, you be anybody you want to be right now. Just be a person that what's your favorite? Do you have a certain thing you like to do, like a character or whatever?
Oh my God.
Anything.
Of course, now as you put me on the spot.
No, not on the spot. Anything. Whatever comes to your brain. There's no spot to be on. Look where you are. You're in this is essentially a hidden. Look how private this place is.
Yeah, I know.
When I have to explain it to people, I'm like, it's like a corner building in Brooklyn, but nobody knows what we're doing. The windows are painted, and it looks like a social club for retards. That's where we are.
What can I get for you, my friend?
Yeah, whatever it is, whatever you got.
Whatever I got, I have. We have a number 1 special, which is a Philly Billy cheesesteak.
Oh, you got a Philly cheesesteak?
I do have it.
Nice. What do you got on there?
There is beef.
Yeah, you sell a lot of those?
All the time.
All the time.
Yes.
You know, my cousin came from Philly.
He came from Philadelphia?
Born and raised in Philadelphia, yeah.
Oh, my God.
A lot of things going on over there.
Is he also very cheesy and delicious?
Yes, he's very cheesy and delicious. Very good. That's comedy. See what you did there? That's very funny stuff. Now, here's the problem with you, my friend. You are a little too aware and smart for me.
Oh, my God.
The people I do this with.
In my country, I was a PhD. I came here, I had to open a store.
Yeah? You were a PhD?
I was a PhD.
What was your specialty? PhD in what?
PhD in public relations.
Oh, public relations. Is that why you speak so well?
I'm not really a doctor.
Well, you know what it is? A lot of people get involved in a lot of different things, you know?
Yeah, I came here. I just tried to make the money.
Well, listen, that's the problem. Everybody needs the money, you know? It's like my cousin Bobby used to say, you know, everything is different.
Bobby Gjonbalaj?
Yeah. Yes, Bobby Gjonbalaj.
Oh, you know him too? He's in Florida now. Oh,
you know,
all of my gods.
All of my gods. You have many gods?
Many, I love them.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite is
Chuck? You have a
Chuck
god named Chuck?
Chuck is the best. Notice, he is the god of all of the gods. Martial arts king. Yes. Round kicks with immense speed.
Oh, so they know about Chuck, where you come from. Where are you from, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, you're from Yes.
Yes.
Is that a name of a place, or is that just an answer? Is that an affirmative answer or a name of a place?
Affirmative answer of what is a location when you think about it?
It's a place.
Where I'm from, I'm from this plane of existence.
Fantastic. Where were you physically located before you were physically located here? What specific patch of land? Your existence.
Well, as you can clearly hear,
I will never assume.
You can clearly hear in my voice.
That shit might be Minnesota.
I am absolutely a Chinese man.
Yes, you're Chinese. Yeah, you're a Mandarin.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, in this day and age, I can never assume that because you could be from Minnesota talking like that.
You don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, I could be an Albanian guy.
You could be an Albanian guy who can kill me in 3.4 seconds if needed.
If I call upon Chuck.
If you call upon Chuck Norris, the god
Call
of
upon the
the
power of
god
Chuck.
of the god of murder. Afrim, we are talking for an hour and change. So look, here's
First of all, I'm thankful that your bathroom had Febreze because
Oh, really?
I went in there and
you tore it up.
Chris,
I had no idea.
Well, because what I do is I like to save it until the last absolute second.
That's really cool that
So
you
it
tore it up,
doesn't-
and I didn't know.
So it doesn't become this like really, you know how people are like, oh, a courtesy flush, man. I wait until it's like unbearably painful, so that way it just all comes out.
You
at
don't
one
have
shot.
to do that with us, man.
No,
We're
okay.
Italians. We're always shitting. That's
No.
what we do. That's
the-
why I
all
wouldn't
the
take this place.
pasta and
Yeah,
bread.
man. This is what we do. Come on, man.
That's really what the soundproofing is for.
Yeah, it's for the shitting and the farting and the bowel movements. No, don't do that. You can't. You got to let it out. You got to look. My father-in-law says all the time, "There's nothing wrong with you that a good shit can't fix."
That's true.
And he got it from his father, who imparted that wisdom on him, and that's what he shared
while
with me.
shitting?
Yes,
With the
while
door
shitting.
open?
While shitting. Stop with the fucking cancer treatments. Nothing a good shit won't fix. That fucking leukemia. You take a nice shit, no more leukemia. That's my father-in-law and his father's theory and philosophy. So we that's not us. We know, That's why when I went into pee after you, and you probably were thinking, shit, he's gonna.
I waited,
but
with
that's
with a squinted eye. I was
let me
like,
just
oh, man.
say, your Albanian, held in, coffee-induced shit on a scale of 1 to 10 in an Italian's world, that's like a 1.3 of what we're capable of. I'm surrounded by people that are eating.
I did grow up with women,
Just
and I didn't
dead
realize that
pigs.
they even took
They
took
don't-
dumps
women
until I
don't
was
poop.
like,
Yeah,
no.
women don't poop. Italian women do. And they'll fucking knock your socks off. They'll change the way you see the world, my friend. You come out of there scarred, like with PTSD. You don't. That is some.
You want another plate of pasta? No,
Yeah.
no, I'm good.
You want a goat's head?
It's in the freezer.
I got some extra pig knuckles, and my grandfather used to eat that shit. Pig's knuckles and tongue, and what the fuck, man? You're in America now. There's no need for that. They have,
They were still so like waste not, want not.
yeah, just animals though. Like,
You want these eyes? What? Like eat them? No, I don't want eyes in my mouth.
Kaputzel. We used to call it Kaputzel. It means goat's head. Oh my
I
god!
barely want those fake blue evil eye bracelets on my wrist, let alone
man,
in my mouth.
Traumatizing for a child to be just eating like, I'm eating like a chicken parm, and I'm at the spaghetti. I'm eating all happy at the table. I just glance up, and there's just a head of a goat. Oh my god, that was way
Imagination
back
takes
in
over.
the
It's
day.
like, "Bleh." You're
Yeah,
like, oh
it's
my
like-
god.
Yeah, the goat's talking to you. You'll never.
Oh.
In my brain, it has a calm, soothing voice. Like it's even more eerie. Like it's articulate.
Hi,
You'll-
TJ.
You'll never get over this. You can try to look away from me, but I'll always be here.
And I'll always be dead.
I'll always be the dead goat head, staring you in the eyes blankly, wondering why you never achieved the things you wanted to. Because you're a failure. Look at me.
I'm the voice of reason.
That's right.
And death.
I'm staring into your soul. You're a failure. Your family is failures. Look at them. They're barely human, aren't they?
How
Your
does it
family is
feel?
cave people.
How does it feel to be children of Neanderthals?
Yeah, you know you are. Don't try to deny it. You're a fucking animal. Look at you.
Animal.
You know how I know? I'm on your table. Why would there be a goat's head on a table in 1979 Brooklyn? Clearly, there's more options. There's better options.
guys.
But they can't help it because they're fucking animals. Your family are just a bunch of... Look what they did to me.
You look over, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
licking their fingers and chopping at this stuff.
You live in an evolved Western civilization, a society with capabilities beyond anyone's belief, and yet there's a goat's head on the fucking table.
The goat said,
You're
like,
a fucking animal.
In the future, one day, you'll be on a device that's in your hand and speaking to someone in another continent.
you're like,
Yeah.
this fucking goat head's crazy, man. Doesn't know what the fuck he doesn't know what he's talking
And then
about.
randomly I'll open a drawer and it's there.
Yeah.
Told you. No! Put him away. Go back into your drawer, goat's head. You haven't even given me a name yet, have you, you fucking animal?
Much like the PhD doctor, the Chinese doctor that we were talking to.
Chinese doctor from India. So we got to tell people a little bit of why you're here. So
Okay.
Let's get to the root of it all. This is the beginning of a very long, wonderful relationship. Obviously we have one outside of this, but in the podcasting, radio, internet show. By the way, that's what I call what we do. My partners, they don't call it that. They still call it a podcast. But I say if you're going to separate yourself, you have to call it an internet radio show. It's not sticking. The name's not sticking. They're not. They're not with it? No, they're not. They're like, fuck you, idiot. We're doing a podcast.
They're like, stop trying to make it work. It's not working.
Right. You're not better than us. So yeah, let's touch upon it a little bit so we can put it into context.
Cool. So I have a podcast called Variety Hour Show, VHS, that I started a little over a year ago. And the whole premise is just to kind of, in a world that's so effing serious, to be able to make fun of everything and everyone. And if you know me, as you do, and for those of you who don't know me, I genuinely believe that we are all one thing. It's like team human. We're in it together.
Yep.
You know, when it comes to things of race, gender, religion, politics, all that stuff, I basically like to equally make fun of everyone, because I feel like when you're amongst a group of friends, at least the way I grew up, you would kind of like you'd be in a group of friends and someone busts your chops and you're like, you take a hit and that's funny, but then you do it to your friend and everyone's good and you kind of have a stronger relationship for it.
And that should be how it is as we extrapolate into bigger groups.
Absolutely. And the biggest group of all, humanity, I don't know. I like to poke fun at things, and
that's what I love about you.
That's the main focus of that, because I feel like I can equally poke fun, but really equally care about the health and security of people while still making fun of them.
At the same time, right?
It's possible.
At the same time.
The
you
whole
can be compassionate.
The whole world is a duality,
yeah, man. You can be compassionate, you can be loving, you can also find it funny that the Chinese guy who's picking through my garbage and ripping shit out has one tooth dangling from the front of his head, and he's speaking in a way that is just absolutely hysterical. Doesn't make you racist. You know what I mean?
No,
it's just fucking funny, man. Some things are fucking. If the guy asked for help,
I'd help him. But hey,
some things are funny.
I'm Muslim. I find
what
things. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, please.
They're gonna delete this episode now. Damn it,
guys, move in. He admitted it. Move in.
Well, you're gonna have to get past this vest, TJ.
Well,
the last episode, guys.
Please. At this stage of my life, you'll be doing me such a favor. Just let me pull the fucking cord. As a matter of fact, if you want to leave it behind and save yourself, knock yourself out.
3PLT Studios exploded. Tune in tonight at 11.
No, you know what you should do? Give me the vest. Let me walk down the street to that fucking Chinese guy who's picking through the garbage. I'll explode me and him and do the world a favor, and you continue the podcast, please. Don't blow this beautiful studio up.
So anyway, I just find things absurd and funny about certain cultures that happen to also be Muslim. So when I see women in niqabs, like head to toe black, I joke around with my friends. I was like, freaking, you dress like a ninja. Like, what are you doing, man? And then you wonder. I was like, oh, that's why ninjutsu as a martial art is popular in Saudi Arabia, because they're like, oh, I get to be fully covered head to toe in black and be active. Sign me up. So it's like,
yeah. What is that whole thing? It's all based on what?
It's actually more of a cultural relic of like Bedouin tribes and all this type of stuff.
It is, right?
Versus actual Islam. Because in Islam, it just talks about modesty. Literally just modesty.
Just that word.
Be a modest human being.
So they interpret that as
somehow translated to, here's this sheet. I'm a freaking, wow. Michael Myers from the first Halloween when he's in the white sheet.
It's a bastardization of the Quran.
Yeah, and all of the text and all that stuff. It's like people do that because they're like, you know what?
So
I like
crazy.
these ideas, but I don't want to let go of these other ideas.
So,
right, honey? Like you yelling at her back when she's like 20 paces behind you.
Don't answer too loudly or I'll have to whip you.
Yeah.
That's not modest.
Right.
So modesty is open for interpretation, and that's how they interpreted it. Like, holy Christ.
Yeah.
That's insane. By the way, Christ, true son of God.
All right. Hey.
What,
hey,
bro?
I'm down.
Actually, I don't believe in any of it. I think there's nothing.
Ironically, he's referenced, him and the Virgin Mary are referenced more in the Quran than in the Bible.
Are they really?
Oh,
go Jesus, go Jesus. Bring your mother. Bring your mother. Bring your mother. Shake what your mama gave you.
Oh.
Shake what your mama gave you.
Hey.
Now die on a cross.
Oh no!
Oh shit, that's a bad ending to the song, isn't it? We should have
We'll
continued.
work on it.
A couple more bars, I think, before die on a cross.
We'll forget.
But Yeah, but is he really? What
Yeah.
do they? What is like him and Muhammad have like a one-on-one? They go like
No,
they
they're just
they play
considered-
horse like a basketball
The
horse
interesting
championship.
thing is they're just,
I'll challenge you to who's the real prophet.
whoever wins gets whoever wins gets Islam.
Those
I wanna-
pages are
yeah.
missing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they started a game
just
of horse.
dunking on each other. They just
It's the never like a 95-day game of horse
Jesus,
because they're
Jesus.
both like
Yeah.
from God.
Jesus
And
crosses over Muhammad. He's like, "Oh shoot, you got me!" Then he like jumps on the flying horse and is like, "Good game!"
Oh, what?
Like, dunks on him.
oh, you stacking 3 camels up now,
Oh,
huh, son?
shoot.
All right.
I guess it's tied for eternity. Yo, let's run it back. No, it's in the interesting thing in Islam that people don't realize is that all the prophets are just the highest levels of humanity. So that we can actually, they're not this like unattainable thing that we can't ourselves be. So they're not considered gods or demigods or have special powers. Like anything they've ever been able to achieve was because of their faith in a higher power.
And this
their faith-
existential kind of humanism.
Yes, exactly.
Oh wow! See, I didn't.
So there's
you know what it is, Afrim? I think you know me well enough. I'm not going to say I'm an atheist, but I just have a hard. I always believe that whether it's the Bible or the Quran or any religion, I always believe, this is my little personal belief, it's that there came a certain time in human evolution where understanding that we were going to die became too much to handle. So they created this thing. And then there were different versions of this thing, and that's God and the Bible. Now, when I used to talk like this to people that are very religious in any walk of life, I would notice myself coming off as being very condescending, and it's very disrespectful to somebody. So, you know, I stopped talking about it because I found myself being an asshole and douchey about it. So the truth is that I struggle with it. I'm you know, the idea that there's a thing that created everything, and then this is, you know, those rules are very, very specific to mankind in you know, religious rules and ideas. But there's a lot of good that can come from it.
Well, also, I think a thought that I've had within the recent years of like kind of, because I used to, I find religion fascinating. I find mythology fascinating. I find storytelling fascinating. And
in what sense? In
the sense of like how it helps people deal with life. Like you
Yeah.
said, like once humans probably became self-aware of like, oh, death.
Yeah.
How do we then justify without just like then having a super nervous breakdown, anxiety? It's like, oh, I'm jumping off this mountain now. Like,
yeah. What is there? Because then what is it all about? You know, I'm at a funeral. Inherently, like not inherently, but every single time I'm at a funeral, I'm looking down at the body, going, "What the fuck?" That's it.
That's not the person. Like that's not the thing.
Yeah,
that animated
and
them,
I'm thinking,
you know?
what did the stress and the worry and the drive and all the stuff that happened? It's gone. It's you know. Why am I then worried about getting home on time? Like, you know what I mean? What the fuck am I stressed out about? Like, you know, what, you know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but the idea that we spend so much time and energy, and it just seems like religion is an easy answer to quell millions of people into doing. And it's self-imposed. I don't think there's this, like, you know, for Catholics, it's the ruling body, the Catholic Church, the Pope and everything. You know, there's a reason why popes, people that become priests, that are drawn to priesthood are fucked in the brain, child molesters and fucked up human beings. Because if you're 15, 14, 13 years old and you say, look, man, I got this job for you. You're going to be married to God. There's no women involved in anything ever, 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 ever. And that guy goes, no problem. That's a fucked up dude.
Well, people find
You know what I mean?
Yeah, people find ways to manipulate the system. And if you look back historically on that, you know, the church just didn't want you know, they didn't want people to have inheritance of any kind, because then
Is that what it is?
They could pass that on to their wives and kids. So then it became like a thing like, oh, your celibacy is paramount and blah blah blah. So
Well, as it turns out, The type of person that's attracted to that lifestyle doesn't give a fuck about celibacy because, in my opinion, 90% of the people that enter that world have no need to be with a woman. They're not biologically driven to procreate because they're defective. You know what I mean? Now, that's a fucked up statement to say about priests. Think about how offensive that is to Catholics.
You know, I mean, and I get where you're coming from because there's definitely been examples of people who are like that. I mean, nothing is ever all or everything, but I know what you're saying, man.
You know what I mean? It feels to me like the overriding thing.
The example in Islam of that is there's not supposed to be a hierarchy in Islam.
Right.
A person who's an imam is just somebody who knows the Quran. He or she is somebody you can go to and be like, hey, what do you think this means? And then you have a conversation. It's not meant to be like a priesthood or a hierarchy, but you go around the world and there's people who magnify themselves and they make themselves the center of the focus.
It happens. It's human nature. It goes back to that.
And then they use the guise of the religious text or whatever to say like, oh, I'm pious and I'm just doing God's work. And it's like,
dude,
my thought is that the issue with religions, the issue with, and even people who are far in the other direction of like being atheist, I think the most important part is the story. Because if you think about it, let's say, you know, one of the prophets of any religion was sitting here in front of us and we totally got the story wrong. Would this enlightened prophet be like, you messed up the story, man. This is not how it happened, blah, blah, blah. They'd be like, it's all right, man. They'd probably be like, it's all right. Because if these people are on a heightened...
In what sense? What do you mean? They'll be like, all right with you interpreting the story wrong and then spreading that word?
I think that the story would be more important to them than their own ego.
Oh, okay.
Of the story being told about them.
Right.
Because it's not about
someone who considers himself really close to God, like honestly considers himself.
Yeah, because they wouldn't consider themselves the center of the story.
Mm-hmm.
People do because we want to always...
Yeah, that's what happens.
Categorize and compartmentalize things and say that so people forget like, oh, this story that's being told, whether you look at it as a mythology or an actual story of like something... That's the lesson within that story is the important part. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. Yes. Love thy neighbor. That's biblical. I live by that. Does that make me a bad Muslim? No, because it's true. Yeah. It's a true statement. You should love your neighbor.
It is. And then the ego gets manipulated. Like,
so it's like, oh, am I jumping teams or am I... No, you're embracing the truth.
I would get personally offended whether it's the Pope, a priest, or a guy who's a Catholic, or a Muslim, or a Jew, or anybody. I get personally offended by absolutes. In other words, don't tell me that God said do A, B, C, or D, or else this is going to happen. Because like that, I call it the hubris of being human. Like that fucking, who the fuck are you to tell me that God, the creator of the universe, through you, told me to be a certain way? No, it doesn't compute. I don't accept it, you know? And then I think people that do stuff in the name of religion because another guy told you to do that, that is a weakness and that's a flaw in that person that somebody is exposing, you know? I saw an interview about ISIS and how this... cleric or imam in Iraq was talking to a reporter and he told the reporter, you don't understand. This is killing ourselves and killing each other and being murderers. It's in our blood. It's how we exist. This is our world for thousands of years. And I thought, wrong answer, fuckface. Wrong answer, motherfucker. Because that guy, and he's like the guy, like the Ayatollah, like that was the guy for them. Dude, you're just a guy.
Well, he's also expressing what he's saying is true, not in regard to Islam, but in regard to like these older cultures that didn't embrace. Like when you look at, it's interesting because not to get super deep on religion,
get deep. Fuck it.
But in the Quran and in the stories of the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you say peace be upon him for any prophet within any of the religions, right? The Judeo-Christian Abrahamic religions, but when they first became a faith, they were praying in Christian churches. Like, they were being persecuted, and a Christian king was like, hey, pray in our church, because he was also an expression of the real truth, that love is the thing.
Right.
Because if he was like, oh, wait a minute, you guys, because he asked, do you believe in Jesus? And the Prophet Muhammad was like, yes, we do.
Okay.
And that was it. He's like, hey, come hang out.
Funny, right?
You know, and it was.
How does it then become?
Well, listen, there's all these
divisive.
There's all these levels to it, because if you look at it, you can see where manipulations happened over history.
It's men controlling other men.
Yes, absolutely. It's all power plays.
Yeah.
You look at the Quran, almost all of the chapters begin with the most beneficent, the most merciful, referring to God, referring to Allah.
Right.
And
it's not the most vicious, the most violent.
Yeah, by the way, Allah in Arabic just means God. So if you go to a church in the Middle East, they'll say Allah. That's all it means. It's
it
not
just
a
means
separate,
God.
different
Right.
God. It's
right.
the same God of the Abrahamic religions. Anyway.
Right.
So,
but just because it's that word and we hear it.
Yeah. The most beneficent, the most merciful. So
it must kill you as a
giving.
But it must I'm sorry, it must destroy you as a Muslim to hear that word now used in a way that is the vicious call of violence that, you know, we see it in the West. Like I hear Allah, I go, oh shit. That
Something's
motherfucker just say Allah?
So, where am I running?
Excuse me, yo, I got to get the fuck on.
Yo, I got to go.
Yo, I'm breaking out. Yo, I'm going to break out real quick.
Yo, peace out, yo.
Yeah.
That's
got to kill you then.
It happens to me too, because there's this weird conditioning. But a quick statement, like the most beneficent, the most merciful, the most giving, the most forgiving. And those are the qualities of God. And then all these other like elements that reference God in the Quran are qualities that human beings should live up to.
Right.
And not one of them is a violent quality. But over time, people, you know, they're also like a thing called hadiths. Hadiths are lessons from the Prophet Muhammad. And some of them have legit lessons, but they were written way afterward. So then you'll read some, and some are like, and then the female monkey performed adultery, and then the male monkey stoned her with a rock. I was like, are you fucking retarded?
What is that? That's a hadith?
Yeah. And
that's like that's like an amendment?
Yeah, like someone wrote that later. It was like, oh, well, I mean.
No, bro.
No,
don't work
dude,
like
no.
that. Don't work like that.
Oh, guess what? She cheated on you. Maybe you guys aren't together anymore.
Yeah, it's like an amendment.
You got to bust someone over the head with a rock because you're a fucking animal?
Yeah, right.
Animal!
Animal.
Yeah, so it's like, what's
I mean, a woman, you know, in generally speaking, at least once to twice a year should be stoned a little bit just to keep him in line.
You mean like TJ
like,
stoned?
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey! That's what I got to do over here. TJ Stone over here. Yeah, I just talked to him 5 minutes ago. I got off the phone, I was texting him. I was on Facebook with him. That fucking Facebook, fucking thing in a messenger. I got a messenger fucking chat with TJ Stone, fucking Twitter, he DM'd me. Shit. The fuck out of here. Allahu Akbar. What?
Yeah. Yo, I got to go.
Yep, I got to break out, y'all.
But anyway, there's you look over time, there's manipulations of everything and people trying to pull power plays. And if people really read and looked into all these religious texts, yes, absolutely, there are some ridiculous things. But when the majority of it is something that pertains to peace, pertains to seeking knowledge, pertains to love, and you see one or two sprinkles of something stupid, then chances are that was probably added. Someone was like,
you think?
Oh, I'm going to add this thing because it benefits us and it makes it a little better for us to pull a power move.
You're Albanian, right?
Yeah.
So it's a Muslim, there's a lot of...
Well, southern Montenegro, which is ethnically Albanian, is essentially Muslim.
Right.
So Albania has such a crazy history. But
it's not really the Middle East.
No, because
so there's a different cultural thing, right?
It's the Balkans.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example of
they were that middle ground between. So in medieval times, the
it's beautiful.
Ottoman Turkish Empire was trying to cut through Albania to get to Rome, but Albania being mountainous and filled, there was actually a hero at the time in the 1500s called George Castrioti Skenderbeo. So anyway, he was like this.
Can we just call him Georgie?
Yeah, Georgie.
So I'm not going to get
Georgie.
that right. George Scantanavio Punkin.
Close enough, yeah. That's pretty good. So
Georgie, I was talking to him 5 minutes ago. I got on the phone with the fucking guy.
Georgie, he's fighting the Turks.
Get out of here. He don't give a fuck.
So
nuts, that guy, psycho bad.
So he was, long story short, he was responsible for stopping the Ottoman Turkish Empire from getting to Rome for like 25 years, essentially stopping this thing.
I just, for some reason, I pictured him as De Niro on the top of a mountain going, no, over there, in the back.
Over there.
No, go that way. Go that way.
Super long beard. Yeah.
You know when he's trying to get the girl in the back with the dress? See, these are the only movies I can reference. And he's like, he's telling them, no, go there. So and then they go there, and all of a sudden, everybody's there.
So in those battles, there was, Ottoman Turkish Empire, Muslim, Islam, and then Christian Albania. But then there's also this recent history. Up until 92, it wasn't an independent country. It was, it became a democracy in 92. Prior to that, it was a communist country. And the communist leader, Enver Hoxha, basically was like, we're going to be an independent communist country, independent of China, North Korea, Russia. So he set everything back into like the freaking Stone Ages, education-wise. So now there's a resurgence of people. Yeah, power. It's all stupid power plays, man.
Right.
So now there's a resurgence, and there was no religion at the time, but there was base for Christianity. There was base for Islam. There was, even in Albania, there's synagogues, temple, all types of stuff. So essentially my family has been Muslim for 14 generations, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And obviously it's my choice to embrace, to take in, and to learn. But in learning it, I didn't want to ever dive into something blindly. And we weren't super religious as a kid. I probably honestly didn't even know we were Muslim until like 10 or something like that.
Wow.
I was like, wait. Oh, there's other
yeah, right.
It just didn't click because you're a kid.
Right. You don't know. You don't
care.
You don't care. So you delved into it and you studied it.
Yeah.
And do you believe that there's a God that created everything and that he spoke to Muhammad and Muhammad was like, tell TJ not to fuck around?
Tell him not fuck around.
Don't fuck around. Don't draw any pictures of him.
That's also a funny thing. No, I think...
What's that? That's another like ISIS type thing?
No, it's stupid because the issue is, this is where that stems from. Not depicting the prophets. The reason we don't depict the prophets is because, or you're not supposed to, is...
Move up on the mic a little bit.
Sorry if I'm a little far away.
Just bring it to you.
Yeah, if...
Let me see. I don't know. I looked at the level. Bruno would... Here's what you got to do. You got to...
All right, there we go. That's better?
There you go.
Okay, cool. So the thing...
But you could lean back. You pull it to you. Look like a gentleman.
Yeah, like oh my God. It's like I'm reclining back.
What do you think this is?
All right, this is good.
Fucking animals? Animals?
I didn't know. So,
I should get a little Asian chick to rub my feet. That's their religion. They like to rub my feet.
Hey.
That's what is ever in their book.
If you got the cash.
Yeah, $40. $40. You pay first, okay? Bruno loves when I do that. Oh, hello. You do a podcast? Very nice. I rub your feet, okay? $40, okay?
You pay first.
You pay first. Oh, Afrim. You're very sexy, too. You're an actor?
Yeah, yes,
I am. Very nice. You pay first, okay? $40, okay?
Sure. Do you take Bitcoin?
$40, okay? No Bitcoin. Only $1, okay? Only $1, okay? $40, you pay first, okay?
Okay.
Oh, he's so handsome, too. You like a rub at the feet?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Oh, you got big mushroom feet. I like a mushroom. I don't like a TJ Stone feet. Very small, pudgy feet. Don't tell him that, okay? He think you're very handsome. TJ Stone, you're very handsome, okay? Yes, thank you.
How do you spell that? How do you spell mushroom?
Mushroom? M-U-S-R-I-M, okay? $40, okay? $40 you pay first, okay? Ooh, big mushroom thigh. Okay, take a vest off, okay? No vest, no vest.
I can't take this one off. It's my chest hair, actually.
Oh. I rock a chest hair, very nice. $10 extra, okay? Too much oil. Oil stuck in the hair. Okay, we have to rub it out, okay?
Yes.
Okay, you go to car wash, lay on top of car, and you
I'm
get
sorry,
the oil
I'm laughing.
out of the
I'm just so excited about being in this
I like
place.
it when you're
It's
very
my
handsome.
First time here?
Oh my gosh, so big. You're very big. $10 extra, okay? $10 extra, big mushroom pimi. Mushroom pimi, very big. $10 extra, okay? Don't touch TJ Stone. He's very small, thick though.
Is that $60 now?
$60. Now you $70. You pay first, okay?
Okay.
I shave your beard.
No, I need that.
No, not very bad. No good.
I need it for
You
auditions.
no audition. You can't go on the airplane. You have a beard, they not say, no, I'm praying for you. You're too mushroom, okay? You shave it off, you go on praying, okay? You want to go on vacation? Take a beer first.
Am I going to pray or the plane?
No, praying. Oh, it's a sexy voice, too.
I'm sweating from laughter.
So tell me about Hadith.
Oh,
shit, I could do that all day. That's
shit,
not good.
dude. I would be crying. I'd be just, I'm already
hurrah.
sweating and laughing.
You have a girlfriend?
I do, yeah.
Okay, and I don't say nothing to your girlfriend, okay? We not tell girlfriend, okay? $10 extra, okay? I not tell Jessica, okay?
Okay.
That's her name, Jessica?
How'd you know?
I read your bio. Very sexy bio, actor, Afrim Gjonbalaj. Very nice. You on the Raw and Order? Raw and Order? Fuck. God, it's such a bad...
Oh, dude, I forgot what I was talking about. Seems irrelevant.
Deep religious conversations.
This is my new religion now. This laughter.
Oh, hurrah.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the show.
Do you have... Do you guys have an ATM here?
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll lay it out for you. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a little couple Asian chicks just sitting on a stool under the table rubbing my feet?
That would be interesting.
No, but that's their culture. They like that.
I don't know how we'd be...
Their thing, isn't
That's
it?
their thing.
Isn't it like their prophet was like, you have to rub your
Just
feet?
Asians in general,
Yeah.
any kind of Asians.
I just picture a giant statue of an Asian, just an Asian girl.
We don't care if you're
in a
Mongolian.
white,
we don't care if you're Indian.
Whatever it is. It's just a white. Like they have those white smocks, whatever they wear when they do your, manicures and pedicures, and at the base of the statue it says, $40 you pay first, okay? Just in quotations.
Okay, question mark?
That's our religion. They got to figure it out.
I don't even remember what the heck I was saying.
You were saying like, God or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. No, I think, does God exist? Hey, man, I think we try to... I think the humans' issue is we try to define everything. We try to compartmentalize everything, and we have to have the answer.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, hey, man, maybe you don't have the answer. Maybe you have these stories, and maybe we mentioned it earlier. We live on a ball that's floating in outer space. We know, what do we really know about that? Does that automatically create some, like, creationist thing? No, it's just like, hey, maybe there's something bigger than us, and maybe for us or for the next couple generations we might not know what that is.
Right. Or how about the fact that there might not be, and if there isn't, it's still nice to be nice to each other, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know that it's a miracle. In our brains, for me, not knowing is a miracle. Like that. Just all right. So miracle in what sense? In the sense that I just don't know. I don't know. So my atheist brain, or whatever you want to talk about, the brain that struggles with a thing that created everything, came to the conclusion that I know one thing. I know it's better when we're nice to each other.
Yeah.
I know that. I know it's pretty cool when we love each other. I know hurting people, it feels bad. And
that all comes from lack of education and ego and all that stuff. It's just like...
I mean, before you talked about how that that reality for that cleric is, he was right. He was like, this is what we do. This is maybe for generations, this is what we do. But he was in Iraq. That's Middle Eastern specifically. His sentence pertains to that part of the world. What is it? Is it just too fucking hot? Like, do we need to irrigate and get strip clubs over there and like lighten the fuck up, fellas?
Listen,
let me show you something. Yoga pants, fellas, have you seen yoga pants?
You'll really believe in God,
bro.
when you see these things.
Take that fucking sheet off and let's watch some yoga pants. See how nice that is? Stop blowing yourselves up.
They just hug each other. They're like,
by the way,
man, we have fucked up.
Yeah, same message I want to say to Donald Trump. Dude, shut the fuck up. Look at these yoga pants, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You fucking moron.
He might actually start going to the gym. He'd be like, oh, shoot.
Look what's going on. Look at the beauty around you.
Definitely going to the gym.
No gym is bad.
Yeah. So...
No, but I mean, what do you think it is? What is that history of fucking violence? It's like watching ants. Sometimes I go, those ants, all they do, whenever they cross paths with the red ants, they just start fucking murdering each other.
Well, nobody wants to, and this is a universal thing, at least in my belief, is that they like experience like a cognitive dissonance. They get new information, but because it's new information and it conflicts with whatever they grew up with, it takes an aware, I'm not going to say special, but it takes an aware person to take in new information and say, hey, maybe my mom and dad were wrong, or maybe generations before me were wrong. Maybe, I have to take the steps to ensure that people realize, hey, we're not really that different. Yes, we have unique cultures, but as human beings, we're human beings.
Yeah.
Like, let's just stop it.
It's an impossibility for, you said cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Cognitive dissonance.
That means when you basically, if someone has a way of thought or a belief system, and then they get new information that contradicts that belief system, yet it's true, they will throw the baby out with the bathwater on that.
Disregard
They're
that
like, oh,
information.
no. Even though
Right.
it's provable, even though it's accurate,
it doesn't fit in.
It doesn't fit. So what it does is it would either have to do one of two things: be tossed away, which is what happens 90% of the time, or someone takes that in and it totally reshapes their thought, their view of life, their view of their own life, And that doesn't happen often because it's hard. It's hard to reset.
It's funny. You hear that term a lot, and then it's glazed over, and people, like, I kind of understand what it is. But whenever I hear it, I say, I wonder if people understand what that term means. That means you're disregarding absolute fact, or at least a new way to look at something, because it takes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, so this is what the definition says: cognitive dissonance. This is why people get upset when their beliefs are challenged. A mental conflict occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. This conflict activates areas of the brain involving personal identity and emotional response to threats.
Right.
The brain's alarms go off and the person feels threatened on a deeply personal level and an emotional level, causing them to shut down and disregard any rational evidence that contradicts what they previously regarded as quote-unquote truth.
Now, that happens when people say, don't eat Haagen-Dazs, for me. They don't know.
I don't know what language they're speaking.
Personal relationship with Haagen-Dazs.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. That's kind of, so you look at this stuff and you somewhere in my, I don't know what age, clearly in my 30s when I was stopped being a real baboon, that I start looking at stuff and going, oh my God, man, the planet has been here for like fucking 5 billion years. We've only been around for a few thousand. So we excelled and grew at a rate, and it's happening now, this evolution of the human race with technology, and it's scary. It's scary.
That's also a funny irony when neighborhoods change, because people are like, oh man, like Bensonhurst, for example, it used to be all Italians, now it's like Chinese and this and that. Dude, neighborhoods have changed since the beginning of time, my friend. Move on. Go to Florida or go to Staten Island.
Thousands of years. Oh, yeah, let's bring it back to the 80s when Italians were fucking killing each other and dumping their cousins in dumpsters.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days when they used to chase me down the street with antennas from car antennas ripped off because I was on the wrong side of Avenue U. Great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's this weird tribal impulse that people have.
That's the word. It's tribal. It's not understanding that we're mammals and we're fucking animals. It's like when I see people. One of my favorite fucking documentaries of all time is I think it's called Cat People or something. It's this story of this effeminate guy who was like a lion trainer, and him and his wife and their third boyfriend lover were like giving all these cute names to fucking lions and tigers because they were trainers, and they were like, like these Siegfried and Roy people. And they were like, and Fufu would always wake at 6 because that's when he liked his dinner. And Fufu, why are you looking at me like this? And as I'm watching this documentary, I'm saying to myself, this fucking guy is talking about absolute mauling, murderous, vicious.
Fufu's about to fuck you up.
No doubt about it. And one of the greatest scenes, I want to find it and interject it into this conversation. It's the fucking epitome of what it's like to be a human on this planet, not understanding who you are and what your role is. We're mammals. There was a scene where the woman goes into the cage after like 30 years of raising these tigers and fucking lions, and she was trying to feed this fucking lion or whatever, and he just had a bad day, and the guy describes it as he lifted his paw and he just removed half of her face. And I'm like, Fufu, why are you doing that? And her face was off and her head was dangling, and he was just devastated by this. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker.
Why? Because Fufu did tiger shit?
Yes.
Because Fufu did tiger shit to someone's face?
Exactly.
Oh my
like
God.
The guy who lived with the Grizzlies until they found the footage of the day the Grizzly, disemboweled him.
Had enough of bearing with him.
Right.
Bearwithme.com.
Like, come on, brother. This world is a dangerous, fucking predatory. Just go watch some shit about fish. Just watch how thousands and thousands of sardines are fucking eaten alive by dolphins, whales, birds flying into the fucking... Like, we are mammals, motherfucker. Like, why don't you... Like, we have the chance to separate from that, Well,
what's the choice that we want to make as humanity?
Yeah.
Do we want to function on that survival level and just nuke ourselves and then that's it?
That's what I'm saying.
Or do we want to say, like, hey, we're aware... We can move to... There are more levels than what we've been functioning on right now.
Yes.
And the irony is when I see people like these, these ISIS guys in Toyota trucks, and they got like basically cell phones and Starbucks.
Yeah.
Hates the Zionist mother. It's like, dude, you're participating in these things out of comfort and out of,
Right.
no, there will be no innovations.
Right.
That's a thought.
No, you don't want those
and
innovations.
It's like, dude.
But you like that colada, don't you?
Yeah. That's just chili. It's so
like
good.
A mug. I'm chilling like a mug. I'm chilling in a mug. I'm saying, don't tell them a lot. You know what I'm saying? But so when I watch this shit and I think like that and I go, oh, wow, we're at this weird fucking state of evolution. Maybe we've been here for thousands of years where guys like you and I, look, you're a practicing Muslim, right? And I'm a guy who doesn't believe in anything, yet we came to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
No, you're not. I don't. I'm saying you at least read, study. I'm not saying you're practicing. I don't know what that even means, practicing. What I'm saying is you're a practical guy who applies what you've read to life to bring love and positivity and acceptance. I know you. You're a very fucking wonderful human being, right? Yet I'm a guy who thinks there's nothing, and we came to the same conclusion. The conclusion is, hey, fuckface, be nice to each other.
Well, that's also a thing that I think the world is suffering from. I mean, especially I see it in academia, where people can't debate anymore. Or not even debate, just have a conversation like, hey, we have maybe conflicting backgrounds or thoughts or whatever, but what's the common ground? What's the place where maybe our ideas can meet in the middle? And I think people now, it's become such an issue of wanting to be right that it actually there's been a huge loss in the ability to debate or have a conversation or talk to people.
Yeah. You know what that is? I think that's marketing. I think that's, I think that is pandering to a group of people that claim to see things from your point of view, and that's marketing. Like the right wing panders to the guys that fall in line, and they buy their shit and they go to their websites and they keep them in power, and the left wing do the same exact thing. Now, it's like a fucking sport almost. It's like I'm a Steelers fan, you're a Cowboys fan. There's no fucking way I'm ever going to root for the Cowboys, right?
And God forbid you wear someone else's jersey.
Right. But it's almost like now take being a Steeler fan to the level of I will kill you for being a fucking Cowboy fan. That's what it's becoming.
Shit's like that happen in arenas.
Yeah.
Some guys, you're wearing a different thing. Guess what?
Right.
Stomped out.
So my point is, are we at a funky spot in evolution where guys like you and I are evolving and accepting and understanding how special this time is we have on this planet?
I think there's one of two. There's no choice because we're in the information age. So it's like a matter of all this information is getting pumped in. And I don't know, man. I feel like people have to...
But what kind of denial do you have to be in as a human being where whether you're a white guy who walks into a fucking gas station and blows the head off of a Sikh like an Indian guy because
of
you
your
think
absolute
he's Muslim,
ignorance, yeah.
right? Or you're the Muslim who straps a fucking bomb to yourself and runs to an Ariana Grande concert. Like, what do you do? I put the blame on the guy. I don't say Muslim. I don't say the religion. The guy who did it. You motherfucker, that guy is responsible, and the people around him directly. You can't extrapolate in a bigger way because
there's a lack of awareness of people in general.
Yeah. Now you're trying. When people say that to me, I say, don't do that shit to me, because now you're trying to manipulate me into believing that's how the separation. That's how the fucking sides get chosen.
Yeah,
and that's the fucking trap.
Unfortunately, the videos of people taking care of each other, the videos of people, feeding less fortunate people, the videos of just of beauty, love, comfort, all those things. Those aren't popular. Like they say, it's the old adage: if it bleeds, it leads.
If it bleeds, it leads.
And if you want to scare the crap out of somebody, you show them footage of an explosion, or you show them. And there's a difference between informed awareness of things that are happening around the world, because I'm not ignorant to the violence and all the craziness that happens, but I make the active choice to try to present love and welcoming and helping people.
That's evolved. That's that, in my opinion, is evolved. Like, that's what I mean. You see, I believe there's a lot of us out there like you and I. That's why I'm not a Republican. I'm not a liberal. I'm a guy. Like, I can never see something from one point of view. Like, if you say you're a Republican, you immediately put yourself into a box. You can't be. You can't be, because that, as it's defined now it becomes the type of person you are. It's not just about the politics. Politically speaking, I think it's a business. It's bullshit. It's boring. It's silly. It's rules. But now it became, what team are you on?
Yeah, exactly.
So if I say I'm a Republican, look, I can be a Republican. I can be a liberal and still think, hey, man, we shouldn't spend a lot of money on shit. You know what I mean? Or you could be a Republican and say, hey, marry who the fuck you want. You know what I mean? But now they've done it. They fucking split it down the middle, and it's like, hey, I'm a Republican. You faggots can't fucking take my religion, my guns. Fuck, that's...
I only suck dicks in the truck stop bathroom.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
You got to hear that's my homosexual, my closeted homosexual redneck. That's the guy who goes, hey, boy, what you some kind of faggot? But you got your tight... You got your tight shirt on, stretching all over your beautiful little muscles there, faggot. I bet you want to take that off and come over here and start rubbing me down or something. No, you faggot. I got oil right there. Why don't you just go ahead and do it then? Why don't you just go ahead and I'll drop my I'll take my goddamn my pants are off now, motherfucker.
I'm a real man.
Come over here and show you what kind of cock I got. Let me see what you got, faggot. Little faggot, don't you touch me. Oh, you want to touch? Oh, go ahead then. Let me just touch you then, faggot.
I won't even like it.
I don't even give a fuck. I don't care. Look how hard my cock is right now. I'll just rub it right on the base of your cock there. Fucking look at them veins. Look at them veins all oiled up and swirling. Kiss me, faggot. You mother. Don't you tell my wife, goddammit. I love you.
Swirling together. Like Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs.
With that delicious caramel and chocolate.
That's a guy, my friend Mike Tips.
Freaking amazing.
That's a guy. He would tell me about these gay, like, he grew up in Florida, like the really backwoods part of Florida, and he would have these guys, like these closeted guys that were like, hey, boy, why don't you come on over tomorrow night and come see my boys Jesse and Bobby. We'll be out there playing a little tag in the backyard. And he was like, those guys are fucking dangerous. They'll fuck you.
Cow,
you know. But yeah, man, that's I don't know where we went with that, but
no, just talking about like
be nice to each other, bro.
Be nice to each other, and if somebody wants to be on your team,
yeah, you want to be on my team. You nice, ain't you? Open-minded, ain't you, boy? Oh, you accepting, ain't you? You all about love and acceptance. I want you to come over here and accept something from me there, boy.
It's a whole lot of love.
It's a whole lot of love. So we started this conversation with me thinking, all right, how do I introduce Afrim to the fucking world of 3PLT?
Guys, let me break, because I'll just keep talking.
Wait, hold on. So this is 3PLT Studios. We built it. It's up and running and functioning, and now you are officially our first guest because I asked you to come over and talk about stuff, and my idea was, we have this beautiful studio. I'm not going to be here talking on it 24 hours a day. Bruno and the fellas are like, listen, let's rent it out and use it as a place where we can rent it to people. And I said, all right, we'll do that after we let our friends come in and just use it to do their shit, to do their shit, to do their stuff, to do their shows.
Verbal garbage.
Dude, we have, this verbal nonsense, this fucking monotonous fucking bullshit. But we have a 4K camera. We have 6 beautiful microphones. We have an elite fucking recording system, an amazing studio
Unbelievable place.
So instead of all of us that are friends and artists together setting up a microphone in our closets and trying to make the best of it, let's just open it up to our boys and let them run wild. And you're the first one I thought of. I'm like, hey, just run wild. You can have your show running at a 3PLT immediately.
First of all, I'm honored and super blown away. This place is amazing.
Thank you, brother.
What happened, for everyone listening, I was setting up a room in my apartment as for a long time I wanted to set it up as an office space, as a podcast studio. I'd got a mixer and my mics and all that stuff, and I was setting it up, and I made a quick little video and I posted it on Facebook. It was like a time-lapse video of me kind of fixing and setting up the office. TJ sees it, messages me. He's like, dude, put a hold on that. And he sends me a picture of the studio, and my jaw dropped.
I literally said, put a hold on that.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. So I look at the studio. We set up this time to meet. We just really hung out, grabbed a coffee, and we just decided to record. So I'm super pumped. People can make fun of it, but you put it out into the universe. You wanted to do something, and then a good friend. Again, talking about having to preface this idea, right?
That's right.
No, I put out the work that I intended on doing, and by putting out my intention through actions,
the universe responded.
And my friend TJ here.
That's why a lot of people consider me to be the universe.
You are, actually.
I am all and everything.
And an Italian bundle of man.
Now, what we're going to expect from you in return, I will leave a piece of paper with an address on it.
Okay.
There's a young man.
I'll bring my vest.
With his brother. No. We need you alive.
Oh, never. Okay, sorry.
We need you alive.
Wrong idea.
I need you. There'll be gasoline.
Okay.
And matches. No, I need you to burn a house down.
Yeah, I don't need you to blow yourself up.
No,
I just need you to.
And then you can come and use the mic. That's how Italians do it. See?
Thanks.
I got a little situation you got to take care of for me. No, but it's going to be nice. You're going to do your podcast from here. This is it.
I'm pumped, man. I can't.
And what's the name of it? It's going to be VHS, right?
Variety Hour Show VHS.
I love it.
You can VarietyHourShow.com. It's also Variety Hour Show on Facebook.
Yeah, what's the idea of the show? The idea is
the whole concept is to just be able to speak freely and make fun of everything.
Just be a giant douchebag.
Yeah, old school, when you would watch the freaking Dean Martin Variety Hour show that he had. It was just goofy, people sit around, roast each other, make fun of everything, no matter how sensitive the subject is. Make fun of it with the underlying heart that we are all one. Honestly, that
be able to dish it out and take it and just have fun with stuff. And the beauty of it is, man,
and not be too serious.
We have these TVs up here. In the future, I want to, we're going to get the camera rolling. And technically speaking, the idea that we're recording this and it's being recorded right now is a miracle, because Bruno hasn't even showed me how to work stuff yet. But it's recording, it's working. But eventually, in the next week or two, we're going to have the camera ready. We're going to have streaming. We got the TV behind us, and I want to be able to reference the stuff that's happening in the news. Just pull it up, watch a video,
exactly it,
fucking just do the shit that technology has enabled us to do, and make the most of it, man. Joe Rogan and my friend Mike, who I do the podcast with, he knows Joe and all those guys for he was at the comedy club for 17 years.
Yeah,
but Joe, I'm a big fan of his. I've never met him, but him and Jim Norton, I heard them on 2 separate podcasts about a year and a half ago say, if you have an idea, the best way to do things is to just fucking do it. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry if it's quality.
Absolutely.
If it's in your heart and you want to just do it. That's the advice that they both gave on separate podcasts in the same week. Because I used to think a lot of people my whole life would say, look, you're entertaining, you're funny, whatever. And I never believed it. And Shihan would say, you have to allow yourself what you are. You have to allow yourself that compliment, or allow yourself to be who you are. So the idea that, you could just fucking buy this stuff, set it up, and get to work. That's it, and then it'll evolve, right? So that was kind of an inspiration, and now here we are, man. This is a big deal, because it's going to be me, it's going to be you. There's other people that'll come in.
Yeah.
You can bring, we have 6 microphones here. You could bring, you and 5 people could just sit here and bullshit.
It's just an expression of actually going out and doing the thing.
Yeah.
I was watching this really cool video with Morgan Spurlock, who's like a producer, Super Size Me.
Yeah, Super Size Me. He's the guy who was on Super Size Me.
Tough Guys, Rats, all that stuff.
He ate McDonald's for 30 days in that documentary,
yeah,
right?
and
Super
basically almost like died. But so he was talking to this entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop, whoop.
Oh, entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneur.
$80 you
Oh, you make
a lot of money. Oh, very nice.
He was talking to Gary Vaynerchuk, and one of the main things in their conversation.
That's a great name.
Yeah, this dude's a crazy.
Sounds like a gay porn move. I don't know what that means.
Chuck it away.
The Gainer Chuck.
So that. Hey, boy.
It's time for the Gainer Chuck, faggot. Well, I guess you want a little Gainer Chuck,
back
don't you,
again, eh?
Oh, you can't get enough of that Gainer Chuck, faggot. All right.
So they were talking about how, the story is really the most important thing in the execution of the story, because in the past people would, record something and it would be shaky and someone's like, oh man, that's garbage, it's shaky. But now you watch stuff and the story is the most important part. And if it happens to have shaky footage or all this other stuff, that's not as... Essentially, it's like, don't allow that to be an excuse to not do something that you want to do. If you have to record... I mean, I've recorded some of these earlier podcasts, on a phone, in a car. It's just... It's there. It's available to you. And will it get better? Absolutely, because I'm going to be here now. Hey.
I had a moment last week, and it's taking a while for my phone to upload a video to Dropbox. And by a while, I mean like, oh man, this is fucking a minute and a half already.
What am I going to do?
It's like 8 minutes. It's an 8-minute video, and I go, oh, that's because I recorded it in 4K on my iPhone. And I'm like, that might be the most gluttonous, douchebaggy fucking thought you've ever had.
Getting your feet massaged, you're drinking a Starbucks.
Yeah. Oh, your 4K video's taking too long to upload to fucking Dropbox. You put it on the wrong settings, you fat, fucking
stupid
fucking
piece of
douchey, fucking gluttonous lump of nothing. Just look at you. Your 4K video of your fucking son hitting a thing. Shut up. You shut up. Just
shut up.
Like that's
the one time you can have a full-out conversation. We got a little Instagram story going on over here.
Hi, how are you? Oh, is that video?
Yeah, it's a little bit of video.
Oh, watch. Can you put it back on? Is it still recording? Is it still recording?
Hold on. I'm gonna do one more.
Okay.
Let's see. We gotta give these.
So what do we got? We got video going?
Yeah, just a short 15-second clip.
Here you go. Look at how tall I am.
Nice.
That's not how this is the real height of me.
What was it? 3PLT Studios in Brooklyn, New York.
Future home of VHS scenario.
Yeah, just a short 15.
There we go. All right, did the social media shit now.
Very good. Very good.
So what else? Very good.
Oh, you like it?
I like a licorice.
Oh, wait a minute. You might be my boss. Hello, boss. Everything going very good. I got a right customer today.
All right, so what else?
Today, $40 they pay first. What else?
What else? What else we got going on? I don't know. So
when are you going to start?
Right after 4th of July.
All right. So I think you have
I'll
to
be
come
back in the mix.
You have to install your program, which is Audacity. We use Audition. Maybe it's going to be easier for you to use Audition.
I might use Audition.
Yeah, Bruno's going to come in and teach you a little bit.
Cool.
We have guests coming in too. We have Niles Lesh. Google him. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, my God, yes.
He's phenomenal. He's coming in. Vic DiBattista, who's my longtime friend from Pips Comedy Club. He recently gained a lot of fame as some kind of viral scenario that happened with him. But more importantly, Vic has been in comedy for like 35 years, and he's got a million amazing stories. I started with him in Pips Comedy Club. Jackie Martling's coming in. Some of those guys from Joe Rogan's crew are going to come in.
Nice, man.
I think Sam Tripoli and Duncan Trussell, some of those guys that Mike knows.
Yeah. I guess Duncan Trussell's out here in Brooklyn, right?
I guess he is. Mike knows him. He knows Joey Diaz. So those are all Mike's friends from comedy. Can't wait to get those guys in.
Awesome,
and,
man.
Some Asian sex slaves as well to come in and talk about their experience.
Listen, if you're trying to be high level,
we got to get them in. And
I'll bring the $40.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So the next one's on me.
I'm not sure, but from what I'm told, you have to pay first. Not sure. Not sure. So that's it, bro. Anything else?
No, that's it, man.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned and
for my crazy Muslim friend and his ridiculously, insanely funny
true.
podcast.
And if there were any incomplete elements of the story, please reach out to us, and we will complete the stories if we haven't. Because I know it was all over the place.
I will disregard everything that anybody says about everything.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't care.
You're like, oh, guess what? Block.
How about this? Fuck you. Fuck yourself. I don't even block. I don't get mad at people on Twitter. That's the other thing. My friends are like, hey, man, you should block that guy because he said the thing about your friend. I'm like, I don't even know. It's in the ether. It doesn't exist.
I just block those fake accounts that are like,
oh, yeah?
hey, you have girlfriend?
Oh, hello.
Hello, you have girlfriend?
$40 more followers. $40 more follower. Follower. $40 more follower. Who is this person? Does it
I don't know.
exist?
It's amazing.
I don't know. All right, so anything else? Should we sign off again?
Variety Hour Show, VHS, VarietyHourShow.com. You can also look me up. My name is Afrim Gjonbalaj. I will not spell it here, but I'm sure it'll be spelled.
Let me take a shot. Ready?
Go ahead.
Afrim Gjonbalaj. AFRIM.
Correct.
GJONBAL.
AJ.
AJ.
Damn, dude, so close. AFRIM.
Yeah.
First name. Last name, GJONBALAJ.
I did not get the
Dude,
J.
that was unbelievably close. Like,
Was it?
closer than probably
Anybody ever?
even long
But
time
I forgot
friend.
the J immediately. I didn't go GJ, did I?
You did.
I did?
You did.
If I didn't, I'm going to go and insert it.
Okay, good.
You see me go G J ONBAL.
Totally in the moment.
You know? Oh, what? You know what else I wanted to do?
And today our guest,
Afrim Gjonbalaj.
Dude, I want to fuck around with this board so bad because it has effects on it that you can use, but I don't.
So anyway, you guys can look me up on IMDb or AfrimGjonbalaj.com. F this, shout myself out, baby. Self-promotion,
Yeah, no
you know
doubt.
what I mean?
You know what just happened?
You know what it is. You already know what it is. AfrimGjonbalaj.com, motherfucker.
You already
I'm bringing
know what
that.
it
You
is.
already know what it is because I'm bringing that hot fire.
You know what just happened?
Like
to you
hot
that
lava.
Eventually happens with all the people that I hang out with is that you realize what a fucking child I am and you became the daddy momentarily. Like, I'm just such a kid. Even my sons do it. Like, I'll walk in on my sons and go, hey, guys, rapping dad here. And I go, all right, look, please.
Oh, no, please
I do the rapping dad with them.
Rapping Dad, and I'm here to say that you're doing your homework today.
That's what I did.
Yeah. They'd be like, please, Dad, get out of here.
That's what I do. I did that with them. Oh, man. All right, we're going to do that next time. All right, bro. Signing off.
Thanks,
TJ
man.
Stone and now from Shotokan.
Yeah, close enough.
Thank you, bro.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us. To stay up to date on all things 3PLT, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter so you'll always know when our latest episodes are up. For the complete 3PLT experience, please visit our Digibro at 3peoplelikethis.com, powered by freedomsdesign.com. For all your online business digital solutions, creating marketing assets and digital tools for companies who are ready to invest in themselves. freedomsdesign.com. Wow your audience. Bro, it's Digibro, bro. See you next time on 3 People Like This, because life is content.